So it's coming up, and they should be already be able to hear me. And though some folk was in Clubhouse and they were tuning in last night, which is cool. It's coming up. Okay, so that means and they should be already be able to hear me. And though some folk, okay, so you can hear my audio, so that means I'm live, and they can hear me talking. So let me get my chat up. I just got to get my other cell phone here. So to do this, that means more equipment that I got to have going, but that's okay. I'm not tripping. And to those who are in the audience, they can't hear you. But you can hear whoever comes on the panel. So they can't hear you, they can't see you or anything. And I know some people are just not comfortable with YouTube, and that's okay. So they can't hear you. So, go ahead and get comfortable. You don't have to, oh my God, I'm public. She made us public. No. Relax. They can't hear you or see you. Now, if they come in the room, they can see you. And let me share this. I have to share one more thing. The viewing, the joining here on YouTube. That's Clubhouse. Darn it. Hold on. Because I grabbed Clubhouse trying to ping y'all in. So I got to make sure I don't get confused in what I'm doing. So just 2 more seconds and we'll begin here. So to my YouTube family, God bless y'all. Welcome in. I got the Clubhouse family here. I was talking to them for a few minutes now. I'm rotating this. I grab them first now, and then I grab y'all because the notifications go out there instantly for the YouTube people. But Clubhouse, it takes a little bit of time because I have to ping people individually. And so God bless y'all and welcome in. So come on in, and Brother Brian, I just sent you the link. Oh, yep, there he go. He's hitting the platform now. Y'all heard that ding. So my co-host is hitting the platform right now, and he's bringing in his computer. But he is definitely going to show some things, and we're going to show something. I'm going to show some things too. Now, let me catch y'all people in the Clubhouse up to speed. We're starting a series, and Brother Brian just brought this to my attention. In fact, let me take this down here so everybody can see me on YouTube. Hey, y'all, God bless y'all. So Brother Brian brought to my attention on Sunday, and I know some of y'all have probably heard about it. And again, this is about proving all things, holding fast to which is good. And what I'm about to bring up now definitely fits the title of both of the rooms. To those who are on YouTube, I named the room 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. The Hebrew Israelites can and won't do it. When I say can't and won't do it, meaning that they refuse to prove their claims. And of course, I named on YouTube dealing with the Hebrew Israelites' bad theology, and they don't know history. And I also named that also 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. So both titles are linked together as one. And the fact of it is, Brother Yeshua, what this is revolving around, Brother Terrence and Brother Willie. Brother Brian, God bless you and welcome. Because we lost so much time, we're gonna just jump right on in, Brother Brian. So hopefully you that's okay with you. The fact of what's stirring today. Comments from who? Comments from Mr. Kanye West, Mr. I forgot that other gentleman's name who was I think a football player, basketball player, whatever he does.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving. Okay. And what's linking this situation? The Hebrews to Negroes book. Yeah. And Brother Yeshua, brother, let's get biblical. God bless you, dear brother. Praise God for you. Let me make you. Yes, welcome in, dear brother. I forgot to give you your moderating badge. What's going on with this book? This book here is pseudo. It's real pseudo, and it's got people talking. It's got people buzzing, and it's causing people to say a lot of funky things, saying all kind of crazy stuff and not backing up their claims, just lying and sliding all over the place. Hey, brother Eric, in YouTube, brother, and oh, Warrior to God, God bless you, dear brother. How are you, Sister Joanne? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so, brothers and sisters, is causing people to do crazy stuff. Now, I know some of y'all on YouTube, YouTubers probably already know this. Now, I'm not going to assume all of y'all know this, what took place last night. But something interesting happened while we were doing the test run, and we were having a very good Bible study last night. Very good conversation, by the way. So I commend both platforms. Hi, honey. All right. I had to flirt with my husband for 2 seconds. What didn't you take too long to speak about the Israelites instead of teaching about God? You're a real life demon. Well, Belshawn, listen. Listen, I'm sorry that you feel that I'm a demon, sir, right? Or ma'am, whatever you are. But the fact of it is, here's the thing. And speaking on behalf of Christendom, the body of Christ, by the way, here's the thing. Number one, we ain't lied about nothing, right? And I know you directed that comment towards me, but here's the thing. I ain't lied about nothing. We haven't lied about nothing. That's number one. Number two, any claims or anything that we say regarding the biblical text, we have been able to substantiate, meaning prove, and y'all have not been able to prove nothing. And you dare come up here and say, well, aren't you supposed to teach about God? I teach about God every time I hit a platform, right? And moderators in the YouTube chat, don't delete them, right? Don't delete them. And even the moderators here in Clubhouse, don't kick them out. Don't delete them, right? Let them say what they're going to say, because, again, they can't substantiate any of their claims. And then they want to get mad with us. Usums. That's what I'm going to say. Usums, y'all. Right? So again, I'm going to tell you like this. I'm not interested. We're not interested in your attitude. We're not interested in your ad hominems. We're not interested in any of that stuff. Here's the thing. You got claims out there. Be able to prove it. That's all we're saying. You claim that the word of God is backing you up. Well, show that. Because the last time I checked, I've been at this thing since 2016, and y'all have not been able to prove nothing other than that y'all need to be on somebody's 35th floor. Crazy. Right? That's all you have been able to prove. Hey, Brother Ibra, God bless you, dear brother. How are you? Praise God. Listen. And then you got the nerve to cop an attitude. Now you done pumped your boy up, Mr. Ron, what's his name? Ron Dalton, whatever, whatever the man's name is. Now you done pumped him up so much, now he done wrote a whole pseudo book, and it's got people talking retarded, talking crazy. And guess what? I'm going to say this, brothers and sisters, in both platforms. Listen, it's causing them to get in a whole lot of trouble. Whole lot of trouble. Right? And listen, what I was taught in apologetics, not only just from the biblical text, but listen, when you throw a claim out there, you throw something out there like that, you better be able to prove it. Not just blowing smoke and a whole lot of attitude and a whole lot of emotionalism. So we coming together tonight, brothers and sisters, and again, if folk want to challenge in Clubhouse or even on YouTube, listen, I will invite you up. I will send that link out there. One of the moderators here on Clubhouse, because it works a little bit differently, will allow you up, and you need to, definitely prove what you're saying. Now, I will say this to those who are on the platforms here with me and those who are listening, but especially those who are on the platform. Brother Brian is on the platform here on YouTube with me. And of course, I got 4 other people on Clubhouse on the platform with me. Here's the thing. But when I play this here video, right? And if y'all hear something and y'all say, Sister Cherry, stop, I'm going to stop and allow you to address it. Now, I know some of y'all thinking about what video I'm talking about, especially the ones in Clubhouse. Well, family, on both platforms here, I'm sure y'all are very familiar with who? Pastor Damon. Pastor Damon Richardson had an interesting conversation with a whole panel full of Hebrew Israelites on YouTube. Now get this, Yeshua. Brother Eric, Brother Brian, it didn't work out well for them at all. I'm just going to say it and I'm going to be upfront. 2022 style. Pastor Damon beat the hell out of these people. Yes, he did. It was a dragging, right? Not dragon, but a complete dragging. And it's all revolving around these claims that these Hebrew Israelites made, right? And I'm going to tell you, this Ron Dalton book, Hebrews to Negroes, that's the name of the book. I'm not insulting anybody. That's the name of the book. When I say pseudo scholarship, and it's not real scholarship, I'm just being nice, putting the scholarship in there. When I say pseudo information, I'll say that it's really pseudo information. It's bad. It's bad. Brother Brian, if you're there before we get started, do you care to let them know just a little tidbit of how bad this is?
I'm trying to get through it, and me knowing a good bit about history, bless his heart. I mean, it's pitiful when it comes to history. He didn't do no fact check. I mean, he paints his narrative of 70 AD. You already know that's already an error right there when he starts saying 70 AD. Because he's got the timeline wrong. He ignores the rest of the wars. I mean, he ignores the Jews that were in the Middle East that never left the land, and they were in there the whole time. They never left. I mean, how are you going to say, well, they came back? No, some of them never left. I mean, some of your KJV Bibles, the Masoretic text, the Texas Receptus, the Old Testament of the King James was made from a family from the Jews from the Middle East over there in Israel. I mean, we know what year that was made. Did they miss that part? Because let's see, what is it? Tiberius? I mean, look at King James Bible.
No, brother, they got the wrong book, brother. I don't know. When I listened to a little bit more of that book, and I was like Pastor Ross again. What they read, Scientology. It's not. It was just it's pseudo, and it don't make no sense. And these are grown people. I want y'all to hear me. These are grown folk. And they going around here and they lying and sliding all over the place. And listen, they got the nerve to get angry with you when you tell them that they wrong. I don't understand that. I don't understand that with my eyes closed right now. I don't understand that. What is wrong with you? How do you think that this is okay?
It's Tiberius. That's where the Masoretics in the 5th through the 10th century, they were in Israel writing scripts. I'm telling you, his history in that book is so whack, you will throw that book. I'm glad I got it on digital. I'm not gonna throw my phone, but I feel like it some days. I've screamed at it enough.
Oh man.
It's
Listen.
bad.
So maybe we should let them hear a snippet of the book, Brother Brian. We can start out with that because some of the Clubhouse people have not heard it. And for before we do, hold on, I gotta do this, right? Because Hebrew Israelites, they got a tendency, they want to get stupid on you. And I said that. They want to get stupid on you, and you got to put disclaimers up here. So I'm definitely going to put this disclaimer up here to protect us because these people they ain't got good sense. And so give me a second, and I'm just getting this up here. So Clubhouse people, just be a little bit more patient. I have to cover us all because these people, when you don't jive with their information, they'll try to do what they can to try to flag the channel, or they'll try to do something mean spirited in Clubhouse as well. So I'm just covering us. And that part. So let me see. Just trying to get it up here. Give me a second so I can have this ready and I can show this. Let me see. Okay, yeah, praise God. Here it is. All right. So this is to cover us all, even here on Clubhouse and even on YouTube. All right. So let me hear screen share real quick, and I'm going to read this aloud, even for Clubhouse as well. So right here, family, let me take my video down real quick. Let me cut my video off here. Bye, y'all. Here, copyright disclaimer under the Section 107, covering for YouTube and Clubhouse of the Copyright Act of 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, again under 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism. We will be doing that tonight. Commenting, we will be doing that tonight. News reporting, we're doing that right now. Teaching scholarship, all my teachers are ready. That's what we do. And research, we have done the research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, we're not making no money off of this. Educational purposes, this is why we're doing to educate you all on how these people are crazy. Or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So with that being said, Hebrew Israelites, don't try to pull it at all, because we are covered under the Copyright Act. He put this out here publicly. We have every right to comment it on it. That part. So if anybody has any questions, you can email me at cherrylove451@yahoo.com, or go and look up the copyright disclaimer. That part. Any questions? All right, let's get busy. All right, so to those who are in Clubhouse, I'm so sure that this is not going to be hard for you all to catch on in what's going on. You already pretty much know the basics, that these people have a bad ideology, bad theology. That's why we call them a cult, number one, along with the other actions that they do. And number two, they teach the Bible falsely. But not only that, these people have taken the initiative to go a little bit further in more craziness. And so again, here I actually, Brother Brian, are you got the video ready? The audio?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So I'm hoping to God right here, especially for my Clubhouse people, that you will be able to hear clearly. Again, this is still part 2 of a test run as well, to make sure that things go well. So far, yesterday went pretty well. Now I'm going to try other audio. And I know we had some trouble in YouTube, and hopefully Brother Brian has the volume at a comfortable level where you can hear what's being said. We're going to play a snippet of this actual book. called the Hebrews to Negroes book. And we want you to hear how pseudo, how bad the information that is being given. And again, to those who are on Clubhouse on the platform with me, wherever the Holy Spirit unctions you for us to stop, all you got to do is say, Sister Cherry, stop. And I will have Brother Brian stop it. Not only that, we do have another video, snippet of another video that I want to run by you all so you can hear as well as see what happened last night. Especially my Clubhouse folk. These people are crazy, but you already know that because y'all done seen a lot on Clubhouse that's just hard to explain with these folks. So, Brother Brian, all right, Brother Brian, I am going to mute myself on YouTube, but I'm going to keep my other button here on Clubhouse open because that's the only way they can hear it. So, Brother Brian, it's on you.
Can y'all hear me? Does that sound okay?
No, we can't hear anything.
Well, no, well, duh, Brian. I got to unmute it first.
Oh, right. That was
All right. What about now?
yes,
I can hear me. Let's see if we can hear this.
Okay.
Chapter 24. What did the Hebrew Israelites look like from historical accounts? In regards to the appearance of the ancient Hebrews, it is easy to formulate that the Hebrews were a people of color. The Bible, authorized by European King James, has very little to no mention of the children of Israel looking white. It doesn't say in the Bible that Moses, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Adam, Eve, King Solomon, King David, or even Jesus were white. So why do most Christians throughout the world believe that Jesus, the children of Israel, and the ancient Hebrews were white, Caucasian-looking people? Now, let's look at what the Bible describes and says about the ancient Hebrews and children of Israel. The first man and the Israelites, brown skin versus white skin, woolly hair versus straight hair. Genesis 1:27. So God created mankind in his own image and after his likeness. Genesis 2:7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. Right here, we see that God created mankind in his own image from the dust of the ground. When he created man, was Adam and Eve white or black? Dust comes from the dirt, soil of the ground. Everyone knows dirt, soil is brown in color. Can Africans or the black race come from a white man and white woman? No. Can you make brown color using 2 white crayons? No. It's a known fact that you can't create something out of nothing, but once you have something, you can alter or take away from it. The true image of Jesus from the tribe of Judah. Jesus, the Son of God, from the tribe of Judah, and in the Bible is described as having brown/black skin with woolly hair. Daniel 7:9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his will as burning fire. Revelation 1:14 through 15. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Notice, Jesus is described as having hair like pure wool in the book of Daniel. If God wanted this scripture to reveal that his hair was white as snow, he would have simply said that his hair was white as snow. Hair like pure wool is the same texture as Black people's hair. Sheep hair is coarse, thick, and curly.
Okay, Brother Brian,
And sheep hair is sheared off with clip.
Clubhouse is moving. Okay, go ahead, Terrence.
So because God, took dust, which was brown, and made man, that just makes Adam and Eve black.
According to this book.
Because he took dirt, and took brown dirt, and made him and formed Adam and Eve. That just, he black because he came from the dirt. Because dirt was brown, dirt was dark. Bruh, are you serious? And then he used Revelation 1:14 to 15 wrong. He took that, I don't know. Boy, Lord have mercy. I'll just deal with it. It says his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. If he took this literal, that means his entire head was white.
Correct.
So what part of that makes Jesus dark skinned?
I don't know.
That's crazy. That, of course, so it has to be talking about his character, his purity. It's got to be or metaphorical. Otherwise, when it says his eyes was like a flame of fire, that means his eyes was literally orange, the color of fire. And then when it said his feet was like fine brass, he had yellow feet. So if we taking this literal, that means Jesus was one hell of an albino. Jesus was a rainbow, basically. He was rainbow colored. Do you see how dumb that argument is?
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness.
But see, this is the poor. This is an example of the poor scholarship, or poor, not scholarship. Let me stop saying that. The poor reading of the biblical text. So, for instance, and we talked about this before. If I say, Brother Eric, or Brother Terrence, or Brother Yeshua, any one of y'all, if I say that your eyes are brown like chocolate, what am I talking about? Color. If you take that in the literal sense, in that of texture, it's not talking about texture. Am I saying that Brother Eric's eyes are actual chocolate? No, I'm talking about the color of his eyes. That's the same thing right here. The Bible never gave Jesus actual physical human description while walking the earth. You can go and check Daniel's chapter 7, Daniel's chapter 10. I think it might be in Daniel's chapter 9. You can check Matthew 17. You can check again in Revelation chapter 1. And don't leave out Ezekiel chapter 1. It's not giving you a human description. It's giving you his what? What is it giving us? What description does the Bible give about the look of Jesus when we read those chapters? His glory state. His glorification state. That's what we have. This is not a human description. Now, true enough, the figure may be human, or look or appear human, But what they're talking about here is symbolically when his head and his hairs are white like wool. That is talking about what? The purity of Jesus, the wisdom.
Look at the word. Look at the word "like." So share to tell you that it's a comparison. The word itself, the word "like," it says it lets you know that it's a comparison. It's showing you what it's like.
That word here is
Strong's G 5616, Hosai. Hosai.
Hosai. And right here, Hosai, which is the word like, out like biblical usage, as it word had been, as though, as like as like, about, similitude. It's describing something, but it's not talking about the texture. It's talking about the color. It said his head and his hairs are white like wool. They skip over that word head and they skip over the word, especially the word like. Talking about actual woolly hair. No, it's not. Because it says after that, as white as snow. So is Jesus made of snow? Y'all help me out here tonight because maybe I'm confused in my reading. Maybe Brother Brian, Yeshua, Eric, Terrence, are we confused in what we're reading? This is basic grammar.
I'm just saying, this is the best they got to offer. They in a whole lot of trouble. The fact that y'all rallying around this stupidity, the fact that you paid your money for this, read it, and still didn't see nothing wrong with it.
And
it's sad.
Brother Eric, would you like to know how much this book costs?
Please tell me it's not over $2.99.
Brother Brian, would you care to tell everybody in both platforms how much this book costs?
Let me pull it up. It was for me. I had a free thing, but it does cost. I know the movie is like $49. Man, I'll be mad if I bought a movie that was $49.
$40 Wakanda Forever ain't only cost that much to go see.
That's more believable than this.
The Kindle version is $8.99 and the paperback is $28. But the movie's like $49.
The movie is $49.95.
So you spent $49.95 for somebody to lie to you. You could have asked me. I'd have lied to you for $35.
That's on back in the day. That used to be the price of all them WWE matches, $49. I ain't gonna pay that much. If I didn't pay it back then, I ain't paying it now.
It'll only cost you $37.95. That's shipping and handling included. I will lie to you for $37. It's cheaper. The thing is,
you could have waited till after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, half off.
So from what I'm seeing, y'all, and what I'm hearing in Clubhouse, and I know y'all heard that, the Clubhouse folk ain't feeling that price. They ain't feeling this at all. You gonna pay $49.99 for a movie giving bad information. You're gonna pay $28 for a paperback book that's giving you bad information, and to get it on internet digitally, you're gonna pay $8.99, wasting $9 and some change on a lie. Listen,
you could have got you a Big Mac for that price, a Big Mac meal.
Oh, please. Y'all don't start. Don't start. Listen, but
just saying.
I feel you, brother. Y'all are bad. Listen, but no, I totally understand your response. Now, Brother Brian, can you do me a small favor? And I know the folk in YouTube, y'all heard it, but I want to play it for the clubhouse people.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Brian, could you go back to that chapter 3 and let them hear what he says on this? I'm not gonna say nothing. YouTube people, don't give it away for the clubhouse people. Okay. They some of the clubhouse people is listening on Clubhouse and tuning into YouTube, and that's perfectly fine. All right. Okay. I want y'all to hear this.
Chapter 3, in the West, found a mural depicting King James VI kneeling at their altar at his initiation into Scottish Rite Freemasonry. The oldest existing record of the lodge, called the Mutual Agreement of December 24th, 1658, records that King James was entered Freemason and fellow craft of the Lodge of Scone on April 15th, 1601. The teachings of the Bible out of the King James Authorized Version led most Blacks to believe that they were Gentiles, while never revealing what our connection is to the ancient children of Israel. It also taught us that the curse of white skin back then was called leprosy, even though leprosy today doesn't make one's skin turn white. They taught the slaves to believe that they were a cursed people and that their skin color was also part of the curse based on the curse of Canaan. Slaves were taught out of the King James Bible to serve their earthly masters and worship a picture of a white man named Jesus, even if it was the name of the slave ship they were brutally put onto. Fact, the first British ship to take African slaves was the Good Ship Jesus, or Jesus of Lubeck, granted permission by Queen Elizabeth in 1562. Sir John Hawkins led
pause.
the voyage
They
to
responded.
the area known as.
So let me just reiterate what was just said in this book. They say, this man is saying in this Hebrews to Negroes book that KJV, King James, was a Freemason. And that the KJV basically is a Freemasonry translation of the Bible to truly hide who these people really are, the Israelites really are, that Black folks are the Israelites. Now, before you respond, let me give you a little bit of some facts here, right? So let me open up another tab here. Now, King James was born and died. It says here, let me get this out the way. Let me move that for a second. Okay, so they got King James, from what I can see, 1603 to 1625, okay? Now, I'm going to open up another tab here. And I'm not going deep into it, but all of y'all can just Google this yourself. Now, the Freemasons, right? Let me type that in. The Freemasons, history. I'll just go down here. Let me see. The Freemasons. Let me ask the question. When did the Freemasons begin? Okay. So it's got here. Okay, now they say in 1641. No. That's wrong. Okay, hold on. That's not what I want. Okay, so right here we go. Freemasons are estimated to start between 1717 and 1731. Now, here's the thing. King James, again, I'll say that again. King James died in 1625. How the hell is he a Freemason when the Freemasons didn't get started until the 1700s? Can somebody work this out for me? I will back up out of it. Clubhouse people, I want to hear from y'all first.
Well, to my imaginary knowledge, they King James was an honorary. 100 years after he died, they was just like, you know what? Let me make King James a Freemason, and they made him recite the 33 degrees while he was up there in heaven, while he was in the grave. You know what I'm saying? They made him recite the 33 different degrees. So right now he the 133 degree of Freemasonry, according to my imaginary knowledge, my imaginary pseudo scholarship. But I digress.
I fit. Brother Yeshua, Brother Eric, Brother Willie, how does this make sense? I got up here on screen with King James 1603 to 1625. Now, even if the Freemasons got started in 1641, let's just say it, right? Let's say if they got started in 1641. King James died in 1625. So hold on, let's do a little bit of math here, right? Let's just do just a little bit of math here. Okay, so let me grab my calculator here. Okay, so this man died in 1625. And let's just say that they got started in 1641. He been dead 16 years. King James been dead 16 years. Now, if it does go back, if it does go back, let me get rid of this. If it does go back to 1731, that means that King James has been dead for 106 years. How in the heck could he possibly be a Freemason?
Here's how you figure it out.
Okay.
If you look to the right of your screen where it says Freemasonry, you see that it has that G.
Yes, sir.
Where the ruler.
Yes, sir.
What they call that thing? That G, right?
That
so
compass.
You know that King. Yes, it's letting you know that King James was a G. That's how he did it.
Yeah, he was a James. Came up out the grave and said, "I'm gonna be a Freemason real fast."
He came up out of the grave.
Go to sleep.
Okay, and that's how he joined the Freemasons. Okay.
Yeah, and then he went back to sleep and he never woke up again.
So and he went back to sleep and never woke up again. Okay, so now we got 2 resurrections going on. Listen, well, if we add Lazarus, that'll be 3. But listen, and the little girl, that'll be 4. So wait a minute, hold on. We got. How is this man literally telling these people that this book is offering factual information, but can't even get the timeline right? King James, if we go back to 1625, even if the Freemasons started in 1641, he been dead 16 years. King James is already in the ground, gone on to wherever, to glory. If we go from 1625 to 1731, he been dead over 106 years. This don't make no sense. Family, this is not scholarship.
Yep.
This is all lying. Go ahead, Brother Brian. Say your piece.
I mean, another thing on top of it. I mean, him being a king, what is the purpose of him being a Mason? It serves zero purpose. A Mason is they do it for the community, they do it for different stuff, but they definitely they almost underneath the king and stuff, because sometimes they be against the king and working in secret. It's being a king and Mason don't make any sense.
I need y'all to help me figure this out. Go ahead, bro.
Did he write this and think like nobody else was gonna read it? Like, is that what it was? Is this just like, like I don't understand.
I don't know.
Like, you do know people gonna read this, right? You do know we can read, right? like what you thought we just weren't gonna notice? Like what? King James was a Freemason. Oh yeah, show me some proof. He was dead before. Like, I'm done, man.
I will say this. I know you guys are kind of getting one off, but the origins of Freemasonry is way before that. I don't know where you guys are getting that information from. That it started in 1700s. That's just not correct.
Well, that's what I'm looking at here on the screen, sir.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at an article right here that says the first Freemason lodge is 1599, St. Mary's Chapel.
I don't see that, sir.
And this is an organization that goes back to ancient Egypt. It goes back to the creation of masonry in itself, which was an Egyptian tradition that was kind of brought over.
But that's a lot of tradition right there. That's just tradition.
So,
they say it goes back that far.
So are you trying to substantiate and tell us that King James was a Freemason? Where's your proof of that?
I don't know if there's any proof of that. I don't really think that kind of matters. I think the idea that he was getting behind is that...
No, it does matter, sir. It does matter, because here's the thing. If they're saying, this guy's saying in this book that King James was a Freemason and that he was up to some trickery to so-called hide, quote unquote, that these people are really the Israelites, we should see something within the biblical text about that. And not to mention, there is no, from what I've researched, there is no proof to show that King James was a Freemason. Now, here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. Do you read the Bible?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and what translation do you read, sir?
I read the King James.
You read the King James. So that means if King James was a Freemason, that means that you read a Masonry translation.
That's why I read multiple translations.
So you believe that the KJV is sir. So do you believe, sir, pay attention. So here's the thing. Do you believe that the KJV is a Masonry translation?
Do I believe it's a Masonry translation? They remove books from the scripture.
What books? What books? Are you talking about the Apocrypha?
Second Esdras.
Oh Lord.
They removed, I can't remember exact, but they removed books from the scripture. Books that were found in Qumran in the Dead Sea Scrolls at the time of Yahusha. They have books that they did not include in that, and that's due to the Pharisee Christian influence. I mean, you're talking about KJV, you're talking about...
Man, we got a pseudo up here. Lord have mercy. Where'd he come from? Lord have mercy.
That have no place in the Bible. So when you say things like, is the King James Version Masonic, are your practices Masonic? Celebrating Christmas, is that Masonic?
No.
Because that's not biblical. There's no way for Christ to be
Oh, goodness.
I told you the crazies come into the clubhouse.
And the crazies come out at night.
Everything.
Out of curiosity, which books were removed out the Bible that were in the Bible?
I can do a quick Google search.
You got to do a Google search, y'all.
Google search?
Hello, Lewis.
You said that you made all the claims and now you got Google, right?
Did you not just have to Google your claim about the Freemasonry?
Google what? Google what?
Yeah, but did you not just Google
it is research, sir. The reason why I'm saying this is because on one hand, we don't know a lot about Freemasonry. So we would have to look it up. But you're sounding very confident about what you're saying. And so I'm thinking in the sense that you already have a lot of this information at the tip of your tongue. So when I ask you,
we got it pulled up on our computer screen.
He's been able to at least answer one or two.
I mean, we already read up on this stuff. That's the reason we know about it.
Like I said, I mentioned one of them, Second Esdras. There's a bunch.
And he gonna quote a Catholic book now.
The Apocrypha. You're talking about the Apocrypha,
which is a Catholic book.
No, hold on. You're talking about the Apocrypha. So do you know why the reason why these books?
Second Esdras is a Catholic book.
Is a what?
It's a Catholic book. It's in the Catholic Bible.
why these particular books, these specific books versus the others were removed out the Bible?
When was they moved out?
To have them removed. That's
when was they moved out?
What they were trying to treat.
This is what you would need to do in your research.
I don't know.
Oh boy, here we go. Lord have mercy. Just answer the question.
Addition. That's his name, y'all. Addition. Hold on 2 seconds. So addition, the question is, when was these books removed from, I guess, the Bible? Can you tell us? Brother Brian would like to know. He asked you that question. I don't know you guys, because it's kind of difficult. Did he fly up out of here? He flew up out of here. Did y'all throw him down?
He needs to be thrown out. Good Lord. He's a train wreck.
I get irritated sometimes when people make statements and don't know what they're talking about. The reason why the Apocrypha was removed out of the Bible was because, for one, the Jewish people did not recognize these books as inspired texts.
That is correct.
So before Jewish Christians had to deal with this stuff, well before the Catholic Church would have had to deal with this stuff, or any other movement within Christianity would have had to deal with it, the Jews themselves did not recognize this as inspired text. So
That's right. Absolutely. That's 100% facts, Brother Yeshua. And again, so now Christmas is Freemasonry. I know y'all heard that on YouTube. Christmas is Freemasonry, according to him. And this is what I'm talking about. They throw out this stuff, Brother Brian. They throw out this stuff, Brother Eric, Brother Yeshua, and they can't back it up.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked him what year was they took out, because he don't know. He's up here criticizing us. I actually got, I had a lot of this stuff pulled up, and I was looking at it while we was talking about the Freemason. And yes, there are some traditions that can be traced back to Egypt, but there's no proof. This is the problem. You get into, well, it can be traced back here, but there's a lot of, the first time you start seeing it is 1700s.
There's no scholarly evidence that Freemasonry existed as a concise movement prior to the 1700s. You can read any papers and you can see this.
That's right.
But again, if he had done his research, he would have known this. And secondly, Christmas existed well before any recognized understanding of the existence of Freemason or any tradition that would trace back to Freemason.
That's right.
Christmas existed well before this, at least a celebration of Christmas.
Yes, sir.
So again, please, and Sister Cherry, you hit the nail on the head. If you're going to make a claim, be ready to back it up. When I hear I got to Google, it tells me that you just been spouting stuff and you don't know what you're talking about.
Come on, brother, that part. Listen. Listen. Oh boy, this was a very good idea. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Listen.
Let me tell my boss I gotta go Google something. Even though I do Google, I ain't gonna lie, I'm in IT, and a lot of times we hit Google quick. But let me tell my boss, hold on, let me Google something. I get laughed out the room because they hired me as a professional. They expect that I know certain things. I'm not gonna sit there and tell someone who was paying me a certain amount of money to know my job that let me go Google real quick. No, he'll laugh me out the office.
Especially when you come out here with your chest all poked out. Yeah, they took out books from the Bible. Yeah,
that's terrible.
Second Ezra. Okay, name some of those books. When were they read? Who took them out? What?
Yep.
Google it. Why are you talking that?
Now, I'm not going to say that these were not Jewish literature. They absolutely were. But it was not inspired.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. I mean, look at what how Jesus broke it down. He broke it, the law, the prophets, and the writings. And I've asked several of them a lot of times when they start bringing up this Apocrypha, Okay, where would they included in those three things? They won't even say nothing then. You hear crickets all night.
Clearly, we can see that it was a problem with the apocrypha, and we had that lesson here on YouTube. Clubhouse, you got that lesson coming as well, along with the rest of the teachers that are up here to show you guys the problem with the apocrypha. But again, we're not going to allow him to detour us. But listen, God just showed us a clear example. We just heard those who are on YouTube, you just heard, and Clubhouse, you just heard and seen a clear example of people making claims and not able to substantiate, not able to back that claim up. This is a problem. And when you're dealing with an important document, that's what I call the Bible sometimes. But again, on the inspirational level, what it really is, the word of life. When you're dealing with the biblical text like this, you can't deal with the biblical text with pseudo information, because the Bible is not giving pseudo information. This is why it commands us to what? To study, to show thyself approved, that we can do what? Divide the word of God rightly. These people are out here just making up all kind of stuff because they can do it. They just arguing to be arguing. And I got to use their brother's words. They arguing because they got lips, nothing but lip service and blowing smoke up your butt. Now, here's the thing. You got a choice. You can allow that to happen, or you can say, hold on, I need to fact check some things. And listen, my best advice for y'all tonight, to those in both audiences, that you would what? Fact check, even the stuff that we give. Fact check us, because we could be wrong about something, right? But here's the thing, the difference between us and them, when we're wrong about something, we're willing to go back to correct it. We have no issue with that. But these people live, breathe, eat, and ride off of what? Pseudo information. Why? Because they are not comfortable, or they don't like what the word of God says. They make stuff up. And this is the problem. And they got the nerve to sit before you and say it's factual. Y'all just heard this gentleman come up here in the Clubhouse section, right? So we haven't had nobody come up on the YouTube section yet, but come up on the Clubhouse section and literally try to push what? Pseudo information. I share the same information that Brother Yeshua and Brother Brian just gave y'all, and Brother Let's Get Biblical, all of y'all just gave. I didn't find anything before 1731 regarding Freemasonry. And hold on, second thing that has to be proven, was King James a Freemason? Because that's what this guy said in the book. There's no proof of that. And when we see where Freemasonry actually really truly kicked off, the man is dead already. So how could he take an oath to Freemasonry? I'm confused. Now do you see the problem? Do you understand the problem? This man done wrote this book. Brother Brian got timestamps like crazy, y'all. It's so much pseudo information. It's like reading Alexander Hislop all over again. Yeah, a lot of scholars and a lot of people who do research, especially theological research, everybody knows that Alexander Hislop has been thoroughly debunked by every peer review, every scholar you can possibly think of. Mm-hmm. Why? Because none of his stuff go back to primary sources. And that's the same thing with the Hebrew Israelites. They are moving in the same doggone way. All their stuff don't go back to primary sources. Mm-hmm. And I am definitely going to play something so you can hear what it looks like, why you should not lie. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Brother Brian.
All right. This is, if anybody wants to know where I'm getting this from, it's Josephus, the writings of Flavius Josephus, Apon 1:8, and this is 38, which would be the number. It says, "For we have not innumerable multitudes of books among us, disagreeing from and contradicting one another, as the Greeks have, but only 22 books which contain the records of all the pastimes, which are justly believed to be divine, and of them 5 belong to Moses, which contain his laws and the traditions of the origin of mankind till his death. This intervene of time was a little over 3,000 years, but as time from the death of Moses to the reign of Artaxerxes, the king of Persia, who reigned in Xerxes, the prophet, who were after Moses, wrote down what was doing in their times in the 13 books. Then the remaining 4 books contain hymns to God, precepts, and the conduct of human life. It is true, our history has been written since Xerxes, and very particular, it has not been esteemed and of the like authority of the former by our forefathers, because there have not been exhaustive succession of the prophets since that time." Oh man, and I'll stop there. But as you see, he gives a list 22, which the Chronicles are together, the Kings are together, and I think it's Samuel's together, and Ruth and Judges are together. That makes up the 22.
Any response from Clubhouse?
That's correct. If you have the complete Jewish Bible by David Stern, you will see how the books were organized, just exactly the way that Josephus laid it out.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And sadly, David Stern has departed from us. I think early this year. No, I'm sorry, maybe about within 2 months ago, he passed away.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But he put together the complete Jewish Bible, and he did it for a Jewish audience so that they could be introduced to the Messiah.
Oh,
and for
wow.
Messianic Jew. Yeah, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
Quick,
go ahead, bro.
can you?
Yes.
Nah, if I could add something, because he kept harping on the Apocrypha, and I don't understand, because a lot of these folks, especially Hebrew Israelites, they go hard on the Catholic Church, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Catholic Church got a lot of things that they do that's not right, but they don't realize that the Apocrypha is where the Catholic Church gets a lot of the doctrines from. Like, for instance, when you got like the Book of Tobit, you got Second Maccabees, 15:13-4. A prophet is said to pray for God's people on the earth. It promoted prayers to the saints. Prayers to the saints and other things of that nature. So it's just beyond me that they keep talking about these lost books of the Bible, but these lost books of the Bible are the reason why the Catholic Church preach a lot of doctrine that's old. Mm-hmm. So it's just odd to me. To bring that up.
Yeah, the concept of purgatory came out the Apocrypha. This is not inspired text at all. And right. When we don't deal with these issues, we can see how heresies run rampant. So
absolutely.
Obed 12:9 and Sirach 3:3. Readers are told that their good deeds atone for their evil deeds. Like stuff like that. Like that's where you get the idea of what is it called? I don't know if it's called penance or something.
Paying money in a sense to get kept out of hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Second is 12:40-45. The reader is told to pray for the sins of the dead to be forgiven. Like, so it's a lot of stuff like that's crazy in those books, but they want to keep saying, the lost books of the Bible, but it's just nonsense.
Yeah, it is complete nonsense. And again, even though there's some, I guess you could say textual criticism with the KJV, some grammar problems with the KJV, if you want to say it like that. I wouldn't go as far as to call the man a Freemason. Okay. I don't see that. Okay. But if there's some information out there, you know, about him being a Freemason, please bring it forth. Right. But this right here, this book is not substantiating anything. And again, here's the thing. The Hebrew Israelites love, every time we go to the ESV, we go to the AMP version, we go to any other translation, what's their biggest argument? You're not reading from the KJV. Well, wait a minute. This man just took shots at your so-called God-inspired translation. So not only that, he just basically took shots at you, calling, and this study down, listen, your argument to those Hebrew Israelites that's in the bushes, your argument ain't with us, because we didn't take those shots. Your argument is with your little cousin over here who wrote this old garbage book. And basically, y'all reading from a Freemason translation, according to him. KJ, and isn't King James supposed to be a black man? According, this
a black man, the
Yep.
king of
no.
During the time that slavery was actually permissible by the English.
Father God.
He was one of he was the reason Jamestown was called Jamestown, because of King James.
Yeah. But see, this is what happens when you don't do history, right? When you don't study history in its context the way you should, you do stuff like this, right? Now, Brother Brian, can we trickle on back just a little bit back, because we're trying to catch Clubhouse up to what we already heard. That's why I'm going backwards. Can we go back to the part with the I think it was part 1, where the man says what he says. Oh yeah, here we go. All right. So I have another guest up here. Praise God. Pastor Damon Richardson, God bless you. Welcome to the platform, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Sister
God
Cherry? How's everything going? All right.
I am good. God bless you, Reverend.
Yes.
We have been doing some wonderful apologetics in Clubhouse, and now I got you here on YouTube. I got the Clubhouse audience. They're tuned in. Brother Yeshua, Brother Willie, Brother Let's Get Biblical is up here. All of them are tuned in right now, listening in. And so this is the only way I knew that I could combine Clubhouse and YouTube together, so that you got 2 different audiences going on right now.
Nice. I'm driving. I'm on my phone, headed home, but I just saw the message in the inbox and Messenger, and said, well, let me jump on. A good thing I saw it. So yeah, I'm excited. So what's the topic tonight?
So tonight we are going through this Hebrews to Negroes book, and we're also, I want to implement what happened last night. And it's nothing like actually having the actual person here who was involved. While we were having Bible study yesterday, you were having a very interesting conversation, would you not?
Absolutely, a very interesting conversation on Berean TV. So I found out, somebody tagged me and said that they were analyzing the video that I did, was the last Monday on Kyrie and Kanye dealing with the issue of anti-Semitism. And so I clicked in, just, sat in the audience, and sure enough, they were going through the video. I mean, almost point by point. And I was reading all the comments, and, people talk tough when they're in the comments. And who's this guy think he is? And he don't know what he's talking about. So I'm just reading through all of this stuff and listening to the comments. And so I saw a link for StreamYard. I probably listened for about a good 35, 40 minutes. Saw a link on StreamYard jumped on. So it definitely surprised Berean, because he wasn't expecting me to be on. And so at that point, I told him, I said, well, hey, you know, what I'll do, is people disagreeing with me in the comment section, I'll come on and field questions from the audience about things that they disagree. I said, because it's, you know, it's easy to disagree with somebody, but then it's, you know, but it's much harder to, you know, substantiate your disagreement. I said, so since they have so much disagreement, I'm here. What do you disagree with and why? And so little by little, I mean, you don't, it just got silent. And so he had some panelists that decided that they wanted to challenge me. So I said, well, listen here, I'm not up on the stage to debate with any of you. I'm up on the stage to answer questions. I said, but I tell you what, though, I said, since y'all think that y'all are actual Hebrews, and that West Africans are actually descendants of Hebrews and not indigenous to West Africa, then let me share this study that was conducted by scientists, researchers at Wayne State University in 2013, which makes this study less than 10 years old. That makes it the most recent study and the largest genetic study of its kind, which proved conclusively that Ashkenazi Jews were not of Khazar origin, and that they actually did have ancestors from the Middle East and mixed European populations, which again would be explainable by the fact that their ancestors did migrate there. So that completely destroyed who was it?
You're in the matrix, Pastor. You're in the matrix.
All right. What about now?
Still in the matrix. You're still in the matrix. Y'all know Okay. It'll clear.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, yeah. So that completely destroys the that whole notion that just to cite the book reference. Hang on just a second. The book reference is Shlomo Sand's The Invention of the Jewish People, and of course Arthur Kessler's The 13th Tribe. Both of those books supported a theory. Mind you, Kessler's book was written in 1976, and Sands' book was written in 2008. Sands essentially, who is that's the interesting thing, both Kessler and Sands are Jews. Now, what's ironic is both of their theories, Sands was building on the theory of Kessler. Kessler was building on earlier theories, mostly put forth by Germans. Nonetheless, those theories were soundly debunked. Most historians disagree with it anyway, and literally called it. Basically said it wasn't real history. And so I read all those quotes and read the study from Wayne State University. So I told them, here's the challenge. Challenge is this. You have to bring forth scientific-based research within the last 10 years that actually debunks this study. I said, you can't. I said, you can't tell me about anything earlier than this, a book or a theory or anything. You have to show a study, because this study actually proves that all of those theories are wrong genetically. And I say, and this is the largest genetic study of its kind. I said, so that completely deadens the entire argument that Ashkenazis are fake Jews. I said that deads that whole thing. This is scientific fact-based evidence that destroys that whole theory. I said there's nothing to theorize about anymore because the science is spoken. I said, and unless you have science, a scientific based research that's peer reviewed within the last 10 years, more recent than this study in 2013, that actually debunks this and proves why, then you've got to kill that whole argument. I said the second thing you guys are going to need is, again, scientific fact-based research that is also peer reviewed, that conclusively proves that West Africans derive their ethnicity and their DNA largely from common Hebrew Israelite ancestors and not from indigenous West Africans, right? I said, so you have to show that West Africans are not indigenous to West Africa, but are actually indigenous to Israel. That needs to be demonstrated in the research. And I said, and showing me that there are some Igbo or some Lemba is not what I'm asking. Lemba in South Africa and some Igbo having some Jewish admixture doesn't prove that West Africans are indigenous to Israel. It doesn't prove that at all. You have to prove that West Africans themselves are migrants to West Africa. They are really the true Israelites as you claim. That needs to be demonstrated in the science. To date, no science has suggested that, and that's what you need. I said, aside from those two things, there's really nothing to talk about, because all of the ways that you guys twist scripture, none of those scriptures say anything about Black Americans actually being true Hebrew Israelites. I said, you can't point to a scripture that would say that. I said, so I with all of the scripture twisting and contorting you guys do, there's not a, so to say, well, we don't need science, we've got Bible to prove it. There isn't a scripture. There's not a scripture that says West Africans are actually the true Hebrew Israelites. I said, there were no, you understand what I'm saying? So the Bible doesn't speak to West Africans. I said, so you can't use the to try and support that claim. And all of the other scriptures that you try to use to demonstrate prophecy are actually not exegetically interpreted correctly. I said, so at the end of the day, I have nothing to say to you guys, and you guys have nothing to say apart from bringing me that evidence. So of course they tried to say other things, but what I did is I put the bully game on them. I said, I'm not listening. I'm not even willing to listen to anything that you all have to say apart from the evidence. Bring me the evidence or just get off the stage. End of the story. There's nothing to talk about. You guys make fraudulent claims all day. You jack up scripture. I said, and to boot, not a single one of you guys are scholars or theologians or experts in any of the things that y'all talk about. I said, you guys sit around talking about haplogroups while stocking shelves at Walmart. Not to disparage anybody that does that. I'm saying that doesn't give you expertise in genetic science, right? So why are y'all talking about genetics when none of y'all are experts? Like none of you guys are experts in theology. And I said, who are the theologians around here in you guys' camps or groups or whatever? I said, name them. Nobody would even name any. And then then a couple people started saying, like Zion Lex. I was like, Zion Lex? Zion Lex? That's who you think? So that's amateur night at the Apollo. He's not a theologian or a scholar. And who else you got? Ron Shields, Divine Prospect, him? Please don't tell me you think he's a scholar. Who else? General Yohana or Bishop Nathaniel? I mean, are these your scholars? I said, see the difference? I said, in Christianity, we have people who, whether formally trained or even informally educated. The fact of the matter is that we've produced greater than 18 and 1900 years worth of contribution to various disciplines, such as church history, such as theology, such as biblical studies, such as biblical languages, so forth and so on. And not only that, but cultural anthropology, cultural studies, looking at the ancient Near East, looking at the Second Temple period history, and looking at the Greco-Roman Greco-Roman Mesopotamian area, looking at all of that and understanding how those things form biblical background and historical context, cultural context, and all those things. I said, we've got millions and millions and millions of books that contribute to the wealth of knowledge out there and literature that helps to educate people. I said, and then you guys turn around and try and use our lexicons and all this stuff to try and quote, define things. I said, you guys have contributed to nothing because you guys are experts in nothing. I said, so you can't try and use our material against us, right? I said, so notice how we're turning out scholarship. We're turning out education. We've actually taken the time to discipline ourselves to learn from people who are experts in these areas, right? I said, so at the end of the day, all you guys are doing is passing along conspiracy theories and historical revisionism and all this stuff. And I just held their feet to the fire the whole night and laughed at them, literally laughed in their faces the whole night. Said, hey, listen, I got you all pinned to the ground, to the mat, and I'm not letting any of you up until you bring me the research that I've asked for. I said, I don't care who it is, but I'm going to stomp on your entire community until you bring me what I've asked. And so they were begging me to shut up, screaming and yelling and cursing and all kinds of stuff. My goal was to torch their entire community and laugh at them for the deceit, the disingenuity, the lies, the horrible Bible twisting and all the stuff that they do. And they think that this is some grand rising or great awakening. And like I told them, at the end of the day, thousands of people, tens of thousands of Black men that joined the Nation of Islam between the year 1932 or 33 and the 1960s. There were tens of thousands of African-American men that joined the Nation of Islam between that time. And I'm sure they thought, oh, wow, here's a movement, people are waking up, so forth and so on. Well, that's fine, but that's not an awakening just because people are joining a group. Cults, sometimes cults are large and small. The size of the cult doesn't make it any more true. The Jehovah's Witnesses are worldwide. That doesn't make that true. Mormons are worldwide. That doesn't make that true either. And the fact of the matter is that, like, you notice how they talk about how we have different denominations, and that's one of the things they harp on. Oh, with Christianity, with all their denominations and this, that, and the other. Well, they got all these camps, which are essentially denominations. The largest of such is most likely IUIC. At best, though, if we're really being honest, if they're being honest, at best, IUIC might have about 15,000 people. Conservatively, maybe 15,000 members. In reality, well, listen, Christianity, we got mega churches that have more members in one church than that. So they're not emptying out churches. They're not growing out. Here's the truth. Their ideology is spreading, but their groups are not growing. Don't let these people fool you. They're masters of deceit. In fact, the evidence probably supports the fact that they're losing numbers, not gaining numbers. So the only thing that may be of any concern with fake Black Israelites, that's my new name for them, FBI, fake Black or fraudulent Black Israelites. I don't care what they say. That's my name for them. Amen. And I encourage you to start using it because they are fake and fraudulent. And But you know, at the end of the day, what was I saying? Well, I lost my point.
Sorry, Pastor. When I heard you say FBI, I said, why he say FBI?
Yeah.
FBI, when you gave that, I said, oh my God, I hit my knees.
Since they always talking about, they were in the chat talking about who sent you, who sent you. You know, since they always worried about who's an agent and who sent, they're the agents, they're FBI's, fake Black Israelites. How about that? They're the agents. so, you know, but you know, it's they're not used to being on the hot seat, and they're always used to deflecting, going down rabbit trails, and controlling the conversation. I wouldn't let them do that last night. I kept it exactly where it was supposed to be. They were so pathetic that they were doing things like pulling out books and saying, look at this book right here. And I'm like, what am I looking at? what am I supposed to be looking at? Is there something in the book that disproves what I've asked for? And so you got to notice the kind of things that they do. They will cite a book without citing the source. See, know the difference. Whenever you're writing a formatted paper, the bibliography is the reference for the book itself. The source citation is a reference to the book and where in the book you got the information. They don't do that because they think that we don't know better. So they'll cite books that actually don't support what they're saying is inside of the book. And so they kept trying to do stuff like that. Well, what about this? They even produced a book by some Harvard book. And then the guy's going through looking at pictures, and it's got what appears to be Black people with coats of arms. And I'm like, so what is that supposed to mean? I mean, you may as well have a coloring book. Like, what are you even doing? This book was written probably in the 1920s, and you're up here thumbing through for pictures? I said, you guys are absolutely pathetic. Just pathetic. Like, I you know what I'm asking for. One guy even tried to define, he was like, peer review? What's peer review? Peer review, you know what peer review means? All peer review means is that I agree with what my friends are saying. And so Berean even was like, that's not what peer review. And I said, you see what y'all do? I said, y'all are so dishonest. I said, but I notice how hypocritical y'all are too. Y'all sit around calling people fake Jews. And as soon as a fake Jew like Shlomo Sands or Arthur Kessler says, you know what, I think that there might be some reason to believe that Ashkenazi Jews really did originate in Europe, then all of a sudden they're experts and authorities. See, even the Jews said, oh, suddenly they're Jews now. Suddenly they're Jews now. Even the Jews, well, I thought they were fake Jews. So if they're fake Jews and truly Edomites, why are they telling the truth now? Why is it so convenient now for you to want to believe them? See, they're super inconsistent and hypocritical.
Yep. I actually got something on that. Whenever you get a chance, I read it to you. It's going to back up your claims 100%.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Shoot it out there.
This is I think it's Science Mag, and I'll put the link in the back chat. It starts right here. It says I'll start right here. It says the origins of the Jews have been less clear, especially with those Ashkenazis who make up 90% of the American Jews and nearly 50% of Israeli Jews and Ashkenazi Jews settled in Germany in the 9th century and developed their own language, Yiddish. Some writers, notably Arthur Kessler in his 1976 book, The 13th Tribe, have argued that Ashkenazi stem from a Turkic tribe in Central Asia called the Khazars, who converted to Judaism in the 8th century. And historian Shlomo Sand of Tel Aviv University in Israel argues in his book, The Invention of the Jewish People, translated into English last year, that most modern Jews do not descend from the ancient land of Israel, but from groups that took on Jewish identities long afterwards. Such notion, however, clash with recent studies suggesting that Jewishness, including the Ashkenazi version, has deep genetic roots, and what is authors claim is the most comprehensive study thus far. A team led by genetics Harry Oster of the New York University School of Medicine concludes today that all three Jewish groups, Middle Eastern, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, share a genome-wide genetic markers that distinguish them from other worldwide populations. Oster and his colleagues analyzed nuclear DNA from the blood samples taken from a total of 237 Ashkenazis and Middle Eastern Jews in New York City and Sephardic Jews in Seattle, Washington, Greece, Italy, Israel. They compared these DNAs with 2,800 presumably non-Jewish individuals from around the world. The team has several analytical approaches to calculate how genetically similar the Jewish groups were to each other and to non-Jewish groups, including a methodological called by descent of IBD, which is often used to determine how closely the two individuals are related. This is key right here, within each group has high levels of IBD, roughly equivalent to that of fourth or fifth cousins. Although each of the three Jewish groups show genetic admixture interbreeding with nearby non-Jews, they shared many genetic features suggesting common roots that the theme estimated went back 2,000 years. Ashkenazi Jews whose genetic profiles indicated that 30 or 60 admixtures are European, nevertheless clusters were more closely with Middle Eastern and Sephardic Jews. A finding the research say is inconsistent with the Khazar hypothesis, and I hope that these observations would put the idea that Jewishness is a culture contrast to rest.
Yeah, I quoted the 2013 Wayne State study, which is published in Human Biology, the official publication of the American Association of Anthropological Genetics, under the title "No Evidence from Genome-Wide Data of a Khazar Origin for the Ashkenazi Jews." And I also quoted the study that you just mentioned right there by Harry Oster, who put that the results of the findings of that study in a book called Legacy, A Genetic History of Jewish People, which was based on 20 years of genetics research conducted by him and numerous other scientists, in which what you just quoted were the conclusions. The summary of that is essentially that all of the major Jewish groups, Ashkenazi, Sephardim, Mizrahim, and Beta Israel, share common origin and no common origin from the Middle East, from Jewish ancestry, and none of them had any none of that genetics were of any contribution from the Khazars. None of them, including the Ashkenazi. So that whole notion about them being fake Jews is dead. And also the fact of the matter is that West Africans, the scientific evidence suggests that West Africans don't have these same genetic origins. Doesn't have these same genetic markers, rather. Our genetic markers link us to people who are indigenous to the very same area that we came from. And so I told him, I said, listen, here's the truth about y'all. Y'all are just white supremacists in blackface. That's all y'all are. Y'all are just, you guys don't even love Africans. Y'all actually hate Africans because y'all don't even believe that y'all are Africans. And so y'all actually hate Africans, and you really truly hate Black people. So you don't identify in reality as being Black or being African. You identify as being Hebrew, which is really identity theft. And you are culturally and historically appropriating another group's culture, and then got the nerve to say, how could I be anti-Semitic? Because I am Semitic. That's just, I say, you just, what it is that you just hate your own self, and you hate other people like you. And so you have imagined a false history and culture that doesn't even belong to you. And, and again, to be clear, as I mentioned yesterday, again, this does not mean that there are not Black Jews. We can't be any clearer than to say that they are. But to say that there are Black Jews in the world is not the same as saying Blacks from West Africa are those Jews, or Hebrews rather, right? So all Black people don't originate indigenously from West Africa. You see how that works. So the other thing is that, because somebody asked, well, what is a Jew? What is a Jew? How do you, as in the only people that are Jews are them. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. I said, that's why it's anti-Semitism, because you have to end up denying the ancestry of other Jews while claiming that you are. And that's also false. So for instance, Jewish people would be ethnically, they would be varying ethnically in not only the way that they look, but in where they are from. I said, that's why you have these various groups. And we only name your 3 or 4 major, but there's a lot of other subcategories of Jewish groups. I mean, for instance, the Georgian Jews, which are just north of Persia, right? That's a whole nother group. The Indian Jews, or B'nai Israel, those are a whole nother group. But the fact of the matter is that ethnically they may be dark or Black or white looking, or have all kinds of different ethnic features, because of the fact that the diaspora took their ancestors in various places. And you have, as the brother read, these admixtures where there is some intermingling with the indigenous populations there. And so their descendants have genetics or DNA that largely is composed of this Israelite or Hebrew, ethnicity. But you also find the admixture from the populations that are indigenous to the areas where they went. That's not hard to understand. That's easy to understand. But for some reason, it escapes these people. And it's not that they can't understand it. It's that these people hate the truth of every kind. They hate historical truth. They hate biblical truth. They hate scientific truth. The fact of the matter is that Jewish people look like all kinds of folk, right? So Ethiopians are African Jews. Nobody has a problem saying that they're Jewish. So the issue is not whether or not they're Black Jews. It's just the fact that West Africans aren't Hebrews. That's the fact. And
they're even Nigerian Jews too.
Say it again.
There's Nigerian Jews over there in West Africa, and they don't even talk about them.
Well, no, they do. They talk about the Igbos, right? But the fact of the matter is that all the Igbos are not Hebrew. So all Igbos are not Hebrew. They're talking about a group among the Igbos who have some Hebrew or Jewish ancestry, which doesn't suggest, and remember, Nigeria is in West Africa, so that doesn't suggest that Nigerians.
I think there's like 1 million. There's 1 million of them.
What? 1 million what?
1 million Nigerian Jews over there in West Africa.
Hold on, Clubhouse is responding. Go ahead.
I was just saying that the majority of those in Nigeria do not claim to be Hebrews. That is something that is largely only believed by the Hebrew Israelites, but majority of Hebrews in Nigeria do not claim to be Hebrews at all.
That's exactly right.
A small group.
Yeah.
You're talking about maybe 500.
Yeah, they're talking about
exactly
a really small population with some genetic makeup to Hebrews or Jewish people. That's what they're referring to, and that's not a game changer. That's not a game changer at all. And I just did my genetic study, and 8% of my genetics come from, it says, England and Europe. Ain't nobody gonna look at that 8% and say Richardson's a European. Ain't nobody gonna look, not over and against the 87%. 87%.
Does say a lot about how you be acting sometimes. I'm just saying.
Brother OT wanted to respond to you, brother Pastor Damon. Go ahead, OT.
Actually, it's kind of in line with the topic, but also just something which is going to be worthwhile to both you. I'll actually share with you, because I follow Pastor Damon on Instagram and Facebook. I'll try to find you, Sister Sherry, and I'll share with you.
Okay.
A clip. I think you guys know about Ron Dalton, right?
Yeah, we're discussing that now.
He's actually Moshe Levi in Clubhouse.
What?
So he doesn't have a large. He's Moshe Levi. Actually, I can share with you, because in this room he exposed his real identity. He was actually talking. First of all, I saw it, and it's a very black. Very dark skin, like a dark skinned Moses or something like that, with a white beard. I'll share with you.
Okay.
So long story short, I can't believe people are taking this guy seriously. And the problem with that room is that because he's got a platform, a public platform, the room, I actually have it, I've saved the replays. I'll share the replays with you. So in the room, there are statements he's making that proves that he has absolutely no scholarship.
Yeah.
And like, for example, when it came to history, right? Number one, he does not even know about the Bantu. He kind of like, there's a certain level of truth to what he's saying, but he poisons it with his narrative of them being Jews. So first of all, he thinks Bantus and West Africans, genetically, we are related because they originally came from West Africa. That's the narrative that they had. That's the history that I learned when I was living amongst them. And they are called Bantus, not necessarily even because of their ethnicity, but because of a common language that they speak. There are commonalities in their language, and that's why they're called Bantus.
Right. And Western, Southern, Western, Southern, and Eastern Bantu speaking people.
It's kind of like a little bit of Angola, a little bit of Kenya, like the Kikuyus, places like, and there's a point that I'm trying to get to. So he did not know that, like, for example, he's saying Asantis, right? And I'm ethnically an Asante. And I'm a direct descendant of the person who started the Asante tribe, ironically, because I actually have a document. My brother lost it. But I've got a document that showed my direct ascendant, who was a guy called Osei Tutu. So Osei Tutu is the person who established Ashanti. Well, people pronounce it Ashanti, but we actually pronounce it Asante. And why it's a big deal is this. He's claiming that we are patrilineal. He's wrong. We are matrilineal. And the reason why I'm an Asante, and the reason I'm connected to that is because of my mom. So he's trying to change this narrative, and he's going around claiming he interviewed these people. You literally could have interviewed me, and I would have told them, no, we're not patrilineal, we're matrilineal. You know what I mean? And we may have certain cultures that coincide with Jews, but it doesn't make us Jews. Because every culture had something that coincided with other cultures. Like, for example, if you go to the circumcision culture, right? Well, Egyptians were circumcising from the 23rd century, 2000 through the 2300 BC. So does that make them Jews? You get what I'm saying? Anyway, that's neither here or there. So my point is this. When I saw how he had conflated the history, how he was making claims like, for example, he didn't even understand. He was claiming that Kush were Jews. You guys need to hear the recording. I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is what, I was like, maybe these folks were actually saving Kyrie Irving from pushing this narrative, because this guy is a pseudo, let alone a pseudo historian. And this is the guy that people are taking seriously. And the problem is because he's got such a large platform, I think the individual who had it was cloud chasing. So they didn't care. And they were over there just listening to him and eating up his nonsense. And I kept on sending messages to the individual. And I said, look, we West Africans are here. We are Asantis. And Asante is right here. Can I come and correct my history? You get what I'm saying? And they were not even responding to us. But like even in the case of the Bantus, we have a common DNA with them because they had this oral tradition. Interesting enough, so at least this oral tradition proved to be true. Not from Jews. That's not what they were claiming. They had this oral tradition that they claimed that they originally came from West Africa. They originally came from Cameroon. But when you test their DNA, you end up finding out they actually do share the DNA with us in West Africa. So the oral tradition proves to be true, but nonetheless, they have a common language and they are not Jews. You might have a select few, just like what Yeshua was stating, a select few of the Lamba people, maybe within the 10,000s, not such a huge number, who are Jews, right? However, it's not all of them. It's not all of them, and traditions might coincide, but most of them, like for example, even within most of the Southern Africans, most of them don't circumcise. Most of them don't circumcise. And I don't want to give you details of how I know, because I used to go swimming and it was an embarrassment I had to deal with as a little boy, because I was unique with the Muslim boy. That's all I'll just say. The Muslim boy, the Pakistani Muslim boy and I were unique in what we had. All of them were not like us as boys. Wow. So I know personally, I physically have seen that they don't circumcise. So how are they Jews when circumcision is the ticket? It's pretty much the key ticket to become a Jew. That's the first thing. You got to circumcise.
You know what?
I land my plane with that. I'm going to share that stuff with you guys so that you guys can look into it, and then hopefully you guys can respond to a lot of the false narrative. I mean, I can't believe this guy.
One of the things I mentioned, yesterday as well is this. I said, one of the things that makes it very difficult for people to understand the varying ethnicities of Jewish people in terms of how they could look so different, white and black and all different kinds of brown and tannish looking colors and different grades of hair texture, different nose sizes and so forth and so on, all these different kinds of features that you would see within various ethnicities around the world. You'll find all of that among Jewish people. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult for people to get that is that here in the US, we essentially learn to think of race in essentially a binary, right? So for the average white and black person that lives in the US, we tend to think of white and black and then everybody else, right? Just essentially mostly white and black. So for your average town, it's going to be, you ask somebody, what's the demographic there? Yeah, well, white, black, and then we got some Mexicans. And some folk are so ignorant that they'll call anybody who speaks Spanish Mexican. I've seen it. People could be Dominican, they could be Puerto Rican, they could be Cuban. Some folk are so ignorant that they'll call any Spanish-speaking person a Mexican because, again, they're so used to being in a binary, right? So what that means is that The average person in the US tends to think of all non-white people as black and all non-black people as white. These fake black Israelites are exactly that way. So if you say a person is not white, automatically that person to them must be black. So when it comes to the question, well, what color was Jesus? I think it's 100% clear, and it should be to everybody, that Jesus was not white. But for them, that means that Jesus looked like, Jerome Jenkins from Liberty City. I'm joking around, of course, but what I'm saying is that just because he's not white doesn't mean that he has to look like me. He don't have to look like Ned the Wino from Good Times. He don't have to look like Jerome from Martin. He don't have to look like, that's not what he has to look like because he's not white. But that's how they think, because they think in a binary. Mind you, that binary is a racist construct. This is why I'm saying these people, if they have been educated in any way, they have been thoroughly educated in all of the tropes of white supremacy. Literally, they have been thoroughly educated in all of the tropes of white supremacy. So like I said, so when you look at Jews around the world, you'll notice that many of them are white, many of them are black. But the ones that are not black or white, well, what are they? When you look at them, most of them come from the continent of Asia. That's the same continent that Jews originate from. And mind you, just because a person has light skin on the continent of Asia doesn't make them European white. Look at, for instance, the great, this is the fifth descendant of the Muslim so-called prophet Muhammad, right? Look at his living descendant, the great. This dude is I'm talking about pale white, paisley white, with a red beard. But guess what? Muhammad was the same color, and they're from the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Nobody is going to say that they're European whites. So were they white people? Well, by skin color, yes. But are they white people in terms of Nordic kind of European white? Absolutely not. Right? And then when you go to India, most Indians, I'm talking about, the country, India, most of them are darker than me. Now they're of a different hue, but Indians ethnically are closer to East Asians than they are Africans. So having dark skin, or even having dark skin doesn't necessarily make you an African, right? So again, nobody would say, well, they're black people, and they're dark people. They're very, very dark, and you'll find that. You look on the Solomon Islands or the Peloponnesian Islands and this, that, and the other, you're going to find black people or dark-skinned people with really, really curly looking hair that's blonde and blue eyes and all kinds of stuff. You're like, man. And again, they're more closer in genetics to East Asians, not Africans. And they'll be as they look like us. They look like cousins or brothers and sisters. They look just like us, folk you would see from the hood, other than having the blonde hair. But if you see, we be dyeing our hair and tips and all kinds of stuff the same way. They don't look any different. So you're going to see that kind of stuff around the world. But if you think in the binary, you think anybody that's not white must be black, and anybody that's not black must be white. So they suffer from that kind of false binary kind of thinking as well. And so that really messes up. And so somebody literally got on and then tried to read Revelation chapter 1 and then literally suggest that the vision of the glorified Jesus is really about how he actually looked, his skin tone. And I'm like, I said, you know what? I won't even spend the time dignifying that, because anybody that's worth their grain of salt as an exegete of scripture knows better. So this person must have been some sort of newcomer, wet behind the ears, don't know better. But you can't pull that with no Christian. Even the one that just graduated from Sunday school knows that that's not how Jesus actually looked, and that's not what John was trying to communicate, right? So these people are just grossly dishonest about everything. Like there's not a single thing that they so when they couldn't really find any angle, they did exactly what I said they were going to do. They're going to try and say, well, who funded the study? I bet it was the fake Jews behind the study. And so literally, not even 20 minutes after I made mention that that's what somebody would do, here comes some guy from with the name Torah Study Group. That's exactly, I looked up the study, and it was seven Jews that funded the study. I said, I told y'all. Y'all don't want to deal with evidence. What y'all want to do is try and find cheap ways to discredit things so that you don't have to deal with evidence. Like y'all are trying to discredit me. Y'all want to say I'm arrogant. Y'all want to say I'm bullying. I said, you can say whatever you want to say about me. Say it all. I said, but at the end of the day, bring me those 2 pieces of evidence that I asked for, or don't bring nothing at all. I said, I don't care what you call me. I don't care what you say about me. Bring me the evidence I asked for, or be quiet. And see, my strategy with everything is essentially, I believe in the juggler ministry, the ministry of the juggler. Just get right to it. So we've been wasting time with a lot of these different kind of groups. You got to go straight for the juggler, and the juggler are those shut down points that at the end of the day, if you can't produce this and that, you don't have an argument. See, what we don't often realize is that the onus is on them to prove all of it, not on us. So I don't know why we be doing most of the talking anyway. It's on them. And I had to explain that to them because I know they don't understand that. So here's the way it works. Whenever somebody deviates from a widely held view, right? So let's just say the view is cats are feline, right? Cats are felines. That is the view. If somebody says, no, cats are really canines, that's a deviation from a widely held view, which means that if you say, no, you can't say cats are canine, that person can't turn around and say, prove that they're feline. No. They can't put the onus on you. They have the onus because they are the ones who deviated from the widely held view, right? So the fact of the matter is that it is a widely held and supported scientific and historical view that West Africans ancestrally are indigenous to West Africa, not anywhere else. So as far back as history can go, West Africans have a historical root in that area, is what that means, right? That doesn't mean that no other people could come into that area and intermingle with them. The point of it is that our ancestry is indigenously linked to that region, right? That's commonly held view. They're holding a view that West Africans really don't derive from that area, that they really migrated to that area from Israel. Well, that's a deviation. So guess who has the burden of proof? Guess who has the onus to prove that? Well, they do. But guess what they try to use to prove that? Pseudo history and pseudo scholarship, like from Babylon to Timbuktu.
no scholar or historian worth their grain of salt would ever use a text like that. That's like using Alexander Hislop's Tale of Babylon's. Listen, if you try and use a book like that in a college course as some sort of support for something, they're going to fail you for that. Those kind of things you can't use that kind of stuff. That stuff is not legit history, right? So all of this conspiracy theory about Jews, as I have mentioned on my video last Monday, this is age-old conspiracy trope, going back even as far as the Middle Ages, right? Mostly originating in and across Europe. This didn't start with the Holocaust, and it doesn't end there. In fact, the book that's quoted in the I don't even know if we would even call it a documentary. It doesn't even rise to this. Is worse than Hidden Colors. It's absolute garbage. It's trash. But in it, they make mention of a very popular anti-Semitic text called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is full of conspiracy theory about Jews being behind the control of world's governments and the Rothschilds. Essentially, they're the Illuminati behind the Illuminati, and they want to control the world's government. That book was written in 1903, way before World War I or World War II. Remember,
he does quote it in that book.
Absolutely, and so then guess who else often quotes that? Louis Farrakhan. And you know, and notice, well, guess who's backing Kanye and
Hold
Farrakhan?
on, Pastor Damon. Hold on. And I just looked this thing up. So you telling me that they're using information from Nazis, Christian identity?
From Nazis.
That's it. That's the same thing that we brought out, Brother Brian, when we compared them. We could see the similarities between them and the British Israelites. Oh, come on, man.
If I could get on my computer and play that book, I could show you that the Nation of Islam believes and the Hebrew Israelite, what Ron Dalton believes, they are very similar.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Nation of Islam has been saying this same stuff for years, that blacks are the true Hebrews, and then using the same kind of literature to advance it. Keep in mind, the Nation of Islam got a lot of that idea from Noble Drew Ali, who taught that blacks in America were Moors, Muslims, and Hebrews.
Yep,
that's what he taught, and then they used a lot of the same kind of information. And one of the things that the Nation of Islam also pushes is what is that text? I think it's called The Secret Relationship Between Jews and what is the name of that book? The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. Farrakhan is the one who wrote that, but it's essentially a 3-volume work that attempts to be an expose on this notion of Jews essentially really being behind the transatlantic slave trade.
Well, am I wrong about didn't the Israelite movement, the Moors, the 5%ers, and there was another group, didn't all of them come out of that same one little building or something in New York? The ideas then?
I'm sorry, say that again. Ask the question again.
Wasn't the Israelite movement in the Nation of Islam, and then the Moors, and there's another group, what is it, 5%ers or something? Didn't all of them come from the same little area?
No. I mean, similar. So the Nation of Islam originated in Detroit as essentially a spin-off group of the Moore Science Temple. So in that sense, that did start there in that area. and then it, of course, spread to places like Chicago and New York, so forth and so on. The 5% Nation of Gods and Earths, which was a spinoff of the Nation of Islam, started in New York City because the founder, Clarence Muhammad, was kicked out of the Nation of Islam, and so he took a lot of the teaching of the Nation of Islam and kind of put his own little spin on it, and you know, essentially saying, hey, you know, Allah is not you know, Fard Muhammad. Allah is all black men, and you know, but he did take what's called the supreme lessons, which includes supreme mathematics and supreme alphabets. He did take that from the Nation of Islam and then taught it to his group, and that's
and that was the Moors.
No, that's the
there?
Nation of
Oh,
Gods.
the 5%ers. Okay.
5%ers, yeah, and that comes from what Fard Muhammad taught in the Supreme Lessons, and so the Nation of Islam still teaches that till this day. So he just took that part and built on it. But for the most part, all of those groups share very common core elements to them. They all thrive on conspiracy theory. They all thrive on historical revisionism. They all thrive on essentially fictitious cosmologies, as in the origin of, you know, the origin of the world and things like that. And just terrible interpretations of scripture, allegorized interpretations of scripture, misreadings, and all kinds of things, and then common tropes that are false about Christianity and Jews and things like that. And pretty much a lot of where they get a lot of this stuff is surprisingly from white supremacists. If you really look back at the history, whether it's the conscious community, so-called Comedics, whether it's the so-called Black Hebrew Israelites or the fake Black Israelites, or whether it's the Nation of Islam or whatever, when you look behind the scenes, all of them are essentially borrowing their information from whites.
Yep.
The
British Israelism is a lot of it.
Say it again.
British Israelism is where they get a lot of it from.
Yeah, there's some common things that they're holding with British Israelism, but a lot of it is really going back to because, like I said, a lot of these anti-Semitic tropes were very popular across Europe, going all the way back to the Middle Ages. Like I said, Protocols was written in 1903. So a lot of it just comes from white supremacy, period. That's much older even than British Israelism theory, and even essentially the emergence of the Frank Cherries and the William what's his name, Crowdy, right? So going back even before them, the zeitgeist or the spirit of the times in across Europe has always pushed these lies about what Jews were up to, constantly pushing them out of the various areas and settlements, and taking their homes and their land and their businesses and destroying them, and literally running this trope about there's this conspiracy of what they're really up to, and they're trying to take over and so forth and so on. That's popular, and that is why it is dangerous for people to utilize that. So this whole thing about they're behind the music industry and they're behind the media is just a modern day reprisal of that same trope. Like people say that like that's a fact. Literally, like people say that like that's a fact. Somebody was like, but aren't they behind? I said there's more white people in the music and media industry than there are Jewish people. I said, so who told you that they control the media? And like, where did you get that idea from? Right? So again, they don't realize that what they're really doing is borrowing the talking points of white supremacists. These are the very same people who have also created propaganda against us.
I hope y'all hearing this.
Exactly.
I hope y'all are hearing this here in Clubhouse. We got every bit of 26 people in Clubhouse right now tuning in, and they are listening attentively. Pastor Damon, you are, I can't even get the words out of my mouth. You are blowing my braids back right now. I shouldn't be shocked, but then at the same time, I can't help it. If you can understand where I'm coming from. I'm looking at this. I got a PDF of this, what you just said, protocol of the Zion people, whatever you want to call them. So this is disgusting. I mean, and these people, the Hebrew Israelites are literally, they're acting in the way of the people they claim that they are going against. I don't see a difference between them. I don't know what to say.
When you look at, again, when you look at all of these groups, they have all borrowed white supremacist talking points and ideologies. Let me lay it out for you. And this can't like, you can't find anybody to refute what I'm saying, because it's the facts. The Nation of Islam. Let's start with the Nation of Islam, right? A lot of the eschatology and the ideology that you find in the Nation of Islam, a lot of the eschatology was borrowed from Charles Taze Russell, the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
Comes down to things like the mothership and how the mothership is going to come back and destroy all of the essentially the enemies of Allah, the white people, so forth and so on. He literally borrowed that whole eschatology from Charles Russell and just flipped it from Jehovah to even all the way down to stealing the whole idea about the mothership. He got that from Charles Russell. The other thing is that the Nation of Islam had which was a secret relationship with white supremacists. And Malcolm talks very candidly about that, and even admits to, when he was in the Nation of Islam, having met with white supremacists as a representative of Elijah Muhammad. The white supremacists were funding the Nation of Islam. So they have y'all believing in all this stuff.
You got to be kidding me right now. Are you serious, Reverend?
Listen, this is very common knowledge. So they got all these little things, fish, Supreme Fish, and selling final calls and all this stuff, this, that, or the other. But all the mansions that Louis Farrakhan owned and that Elijah Muhammad had, and all that land in Indiana, and all these businesses and buildings and real estate that they own, they didn't get all that stuff from their business generated, revenue generated from their businesses. White supremacist organizations were funding the Nation of Islam because of mutual interest in race separation. Just before Malcolm died, he talked about literally him and the Atlanta minister of the Atlanta Mosque in the Nation of Islam, literally talking to the head of a white supremacist organization in that man's house. Yeah. So listen, and even in more recent times, Farrakhan has shared platforms with David Duke of the KKK, so forth and so on. These people, see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. All of these so-called pro-Black nationalistic groups, most of these groups borrow ideology and even receive funding from white supremacist organizations. Yeah.
That's
and so
true.
we look at the so-called Black Hebrew Israelites or the fake Black Israelites. They ain't no different. All their talking points come from white supremacist type groups and ideologies, from the theology all the way down to the political ideology. all this anti-Zionism kind of stuff, all that comes from white supremacist kind of groups. Again, the protocols of the elders of Zion, all that stuff comes from those kind of groups. And so listen, here's what I'm saying about these groups. They're sellouts. They're sellouts. All of them are sellouts. They're not pro-black at all. They're actually just white supremacists and black faces. Tell that to Farrakhan, tell that to Nathaniel, tell that to whoever, to Zaria, that they're sellouts is what they are.
Oh, Yeshua, OT, let me process what you just got through saying. Did any one of y'all in Yeshua or OT Willie, did y'all want to respond to
I mean, listen, let me just put this out there. I'm on a roll. So think about this. We just did a video. We just did probably one of the best Christian documentaries ever produced in the 20th century, called Unspoken.
Yes.
It's scholarly, it's fact-based, whether you talk about history, whether you talk about Bible, whether you talk about theology, we killed it on that. Now, here's the interesting thing though, is the video, the documentary was made to answer the question, is Christianity the white man's religion? Now, this question itself was essentially raised by those kind of groups, like the Nation of Islam. It was popularized. This notion, I shouldn't say the question, the idea was popularized that Christianity is the white man's religion by Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. Like, they pushed that idea probably greater than anybody else. It's just the white man's religion. It's just these old chicken-eating, greasy black preachers, and they would say all kinds of stuff, believing in spookism and all this stuff. It's just the white man's religion. So that whole idea got popularized in black communities. Let me just pause and say this. Don't let me forget what I'm about to, what I'm saying, because I need the parentheses here, parenthetically state this. Sheesh. Boy, see, I knew when I tried to do that, I was going to end up forgetting. So hold on. Let me see if I can remember where I'm going here. So Christianity, this whole idea of Christianity being the white man's religion, so forth and so on. So they invented this kind of idea. And it's really important to understand that that they said this in order to lure black people away from Christianity. And so they came up with this, Christianity is essentially a slave master's religion, on and on and on and on and on. Mind you, Elijah Muhammad was the student of Fard, right? Wallace Fard is his name, not right. Master Fard Muhammad and all this other stuff that they try and Louis Farrakhan tries to put some accent to it, Master Farad, all this other stuff. It was just Wallace Fard. Fard is a French name because his people was mostly what you would call of Creole descent. Wallace Fard was white. He was from Jasper, Texas. His father was mulatto and his mom was white. And so there was nothing really black about him except for maybe a small percentage of the black that he received from his mulatto father. He always claimed to be white. He looked white. And on every census that he ever filled out, he said he was a white man. And these ninjas, let me say it with a D because it sounds better. These ninjas have the nerve to say that Christianity is the white man's religion, when every February 26th or 27th, they're celebrating Savior's Day, the birthday of this white man named Wallace Spard, who they believe was God in person. And we are the white man. So they got all their doctrines from a white man. They got the name Nation of Islam from a white man. The white man sold them this false cosmology about black people living on the moon 66 trillion years ago, and then it being exploded in half by a rogue scientist. And so the survivors, the tribe of Shabazz, moved from Asia to West Asia, which they call Africa. And that's where we developed our black skin and kinky hair. And essentially, we are the descendants of the lost God tribe of Shabazz in the wilderness of America. A white man taught them that. And then they got the nerve to say, we are Christianity is the white man's religion. Do you see the pattern already? Where do they learn this stuff from? Crazy, anti-Semitic, pseudo-scholar, racist white people. Those are the teachers of all of these so-called woke black people.
Lord have mercy.
Those are the teachers. And that's a fact. Wallace Spard was a whole white man. It ain't even no way to hide that. And then these ninjas invented all kinds of myths and legends around his identity to try and conceal that fact. When he quote unquote disappeared in 1930, he was a man from the East, and he went to prison. He went to prison. Then they tried to say he was deported. It was no need to deport him because he wasn't from Mecca. He was from Jasper, Texas. And he wasn't hiding in white skin, as they try to say. Allah had to wear white skin in order to be able to move among the white man. Well, he didn't have to learn how to move among the white man because he was a white man. These are the kind of things that these groups teach. And so don't be fooled by their so-called Edomite kind of stuff. Listen, all of that stuff they got from anti-Semitic white supremacists. All that kind of ideology they borrowed from them. The same kind of people who also hate them. Yeah, it's the truth has just got to be told.
So no one said that it was so they got a bunch of self-hatred going on with them. They basically hate themselves.
They do. And that's why every person who rises to the top of leadership in the Nation of Islam usually has light skin and slick hair. Because they're just as poisoned and stricken by colorism, which is a son or a daughter of racism. Look at their founder right here. Look at their founder. It's a white man. And so you'll notice all their leaders are light skinned. Where's the dark skinned leaders? The darkest one, which was as black as me, Khaled, got kicked out of it. So you tell me that whether or not they love black people or not.
Terrence was responding to you. What did you say, Terrence?
I don't know. I'm saying this a video or this live.
No, this is live. That's actually Pastor Damon. He's on my YouTube channel right now.
Oh, okay. What up,
He
though?
said, what up, though? All right. I hear you, Detroit.
No, he's actually here. He's actually on my Zoom right now. He's speaking to you guys live. I was going to play the video, but you got him in live on the YouTube. He's speaking directly to you right now.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Pastor.
Oh,
I just found out that according to them, Jesus looked like Jerome from Martin. If you know the song.
Don't you start right now. Don't you start, sir. Pastor Damon, this right here, what you telling, I'm just trying to collect all my thoughts. I always felt it that, you could obviously see something that's wrong with the group, being that they're cults and whatever. But that this is this line of information that you're giving right here. Wow, I'm still trying to process what you're saying to us right now, and I just can't help but hear the hypocrisy from the Nation of Islam and Hebrew Israelite group, and they're doing the very same thing that they claim that they protest against. I don't see how these people sleep at night. Oh.
Well, can I just qualify that Damon's statement pertaining to NOI, and I'll share you the link. And they actually had a room, the NOI, their first room I saw in Clubhouse, and they were celebrating Muhammad, and they were calling him their Messiah. Then I shared this link with them, and they kicked me out of the room. Then I came back, and then the next thing is I shared that link, and then they said there was a conspiracy with the FBI. So I told them then, Harvard is pushing this article. Why haven't you guys all come together? Got what's his name? Got one of the biggest civil rights lawyers go and sue Harvard, because this case will probably make it to the Supreme Court, and it's going to be one of the most popular cases. Because being Nation of Islam, we fall under Black people, so it's going to be very popular because it's going to be probably discrimination from Harvard, and Harvard is a credible institution. It's the elite institution in the U.S. So I shared this, and I'll share the link with you guys in a few. So in that article, it talks about how the fingerprints of Wali Dob Fard is the same as Fard Muhammad. It states something about him being from some of the whitest states you could ever think of. I think it's something like South Dakota or something like that, and also Hawaii. And I said, why haven't you guys gone to challenge this article? And it's just sitting in Harvard, just like that. Surely if Harvard is bold enough, they don't make any positive statements, but they do make inferences that it seems like it's the same person. And I'm like, fingerprints could get you implicated in a court case, right? So for the fact that it's talking about fingerprints, I was like, and it's stating that he's actually a white man, just as Pastor Damon is saying. So I was like, why haven't you guys challenged it? You're like, oh no, it's a conspiracy from the FBI. I said, no, that's not a valid claim, because you can dismiss the FBI by simply going to the court and challenging Harvard for keeping this article. And the article is still sitting there, and I'll share with you guys in a few. I'll share in the back chat.
Absolutely, Pastor Damon, and whoever wants to answer, what is all of these conspiracy theories? I noticed that you called them out on that, Pastor Damon, about them, and I couldn't agree with you even more, because they love to hide behind the conspiracy theory. Is that just a fear tactic? Why all of these conspiracy theories? If you can answer that, Reverend.
Yeah, well, conspiracy theories are very popular among cults because conspiracy theories essentially appeal to several things. One, it appeals to people's need to understand why. right? So there's a sense in which oftentimes people don't have answers, and this need to have answers is often one of the reasons why people end up essentially gravitating towards conspiracy theory. Also, existentialism, this need to be able to explain things about their existence, this need to belong, so forth and so on. And so there's all kinds of reasons why people gravitate towards conspiracy theory, but they're really popular among cults because cults have to keep in mind cults are built on lies. They're built on revisionist history or false history. They're built on retellings and revisions of things and so forth and so on. And all kinds of conspiracy theories, because one thing that cults do well is they push fear. That's how they tighten the loyalty of the group. So you'll notice when you start looking at it, there's always, and a lot of these fears are essentially what you would call millenarian or essentially focused on a new dawning day, a millennial period in which destruction is going to happen. So there's this fear that, hey, if you don't really get with our group and line up with what we're saying, then you're going to be destroyed in Armageddon, or you're going to be destroyed when Yahweh comes, or you're going to be destroyed when, you know what I mean? You see the Jehovah's Witnesses, you see. So cults often create conspiracy theories. So you see the Seventh-day Adventists or Sunday law, this whole false conspiracy theory about the mark of the beast being people forced to observe Sunday, right? So conspiracy theory is a very common thing among cults, because it's one of the ways that, and see, we also have to keep in mind that false doctrine is not just devastating spiritually. False doctrine has conspiracy theories, and false doctrine has social implications because it impacts the way people behave. If you want an example of that, look at the cult. Look at the Trump cult. Look at the Trump cult. I mean, because Donald Trump has a cult of millions and millions and millions and millions of people who are delusional about his leadership. And what did his cult do? He successfully convinced people that the election was stolen. And what did they do? These ninjas showed up at the Capitol and stormed it. See, so conspiracies impact the way people behave, but it also impacts the way people think. And over time, when people give themselves over and over and over to fiction and false doctrine and conspiracies, it does break down your ability to rationally think and reason.
Yes.
You ever notice how people who hold the false doctrine are the hardest people to talk to?
Yes. Yes.
Like, dude, what is wrong with your dang on brain? Well, it's broken. That's what's wrong with it. Their brains are broken. Conspiracy theory literally destroys over time your ability to think rationally and reasonably and logically. And so you can show them something in black and white, and these people will still find a way to try and move they just can't be honest. They just can't see it. They just can't accept it. They just can't. That comes from, over time, the compounded effect of holding on to conspiracy kind of theories. It's just not healthy psychologically or mentally for anybody. And my great concern for the Black community as a whole is from the barbershop to the hair salon. Conspiracy theory, false doctrine, and revisionist history has plagued our community to such a degree that it's almost like we hate truth whether it's scientific truth, historical truth, or whatever. It's like we just love believing lies. That is not helping our community. And I'm not just talking about the gospel. I'm talking about any kind of truth.
Yeah, I seen the example of that yesterday, watching it, you know, when you were dialoguing with them. And I've dialogued with, you know, with Hebrew Israelites. A lot of us have. They're very irrational. It's like they have to force this narrative. You know, even though they can see it, read it from the biblical text, it says what it says, but they want to force this narrative. Very irrational. And I always tell people, and I even did a hangout on this, bad doctrine produces bad behavior. And what I have seen with them is, oh my goodness, it's just, I can't even give it a word. What you say, Terrence?
I'm saying this is what they say. You'll show them something and you be like, well, do you believe that this what they say? And they'll be like, well, that's what it say, but that's not what it means. Like I can show them Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. What the title say? Well, it say green eggs and ham, but that's not what it means. Like, bro, it's like, are you serious? Like you can
full of the I mean, they have that, they, like you said, Pastor Damon, and like you showing Brother Terrence, they got to hold on to this lie. This
you remember the character in the sketch comedy In Living Color, Oswald Bates.
Yes.
Right. It's like Oswald Bates is an avatar for almost the average Black person in the inner city. He's like an avatar. It's like literally, that's what he said. Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Well, you see, my brother, you know, green eggs and ham is really code for this thing, you know, and it's never just what it is. It's always something else behind it. You know, green really doesn't mean green. Green merely means white. And ham, is just, that's the tricknology of the devil, i.e. the white man that's trying to get you to eat ham in order to kill you. Because, you know, and all this, you say and these people be dead serious. And as much as we laugh at Oswald Bates, there are millions of these dudes walking around every single day sounding like that. And be dead serious. And be dead serious. And they don't realize how crazy they sound. And that's exactly my point. Is that this is the damage it does to the mind. That you think that you're deep and you're dropping knowledge. And see, brother, what we got to do is we got to eat more sea moss in order to decalcify the pineal gland. You understand what I'm saying? And so what is that going to do? What is that going to do? See, what that's going to do, brother, is it's going to cause your third eye to be able to see and to become conscious and woke to the fact that you are the enlightened one on the inside. It's going to make you aware of your Christ consciousness, you know, and all this stuff. And listen, as crazy as that sounds, that's how folk be out here talking. Yes. Men and women, they believe this. Imagine how crazy that sounds. And yet, you go on YouTube on any one of these channels, Young Pharaoh's channel or whatever it is. Well, he don't have a channel no more, but when he did, that's how these people talk. That's how they believe.
He doesn't have a channel no more?
They kicked him off.
When this happened? Oh my God.
He's on Instagram. He's on Instagram, but they kicked him off like it might have been about a year ago or so. Yeah.
Oh my Lord. I'm so far behind.
But he still got all kinds. I mean, he still has easily 1 million followers at least. I mean, and then you think about who are these people? They're not just older people. These people are young people that are willing to, young Black people who are willing to believe the craziest things, all kinds of gematria, numerology, mixed with pseudoscience and pseudo theology. And they'll be on Instagram and TikTok saying all of this crazy stuff. And where are they getting this stuff from?
Hey, Pastor Damon. Hey, Pastor
Yes, sir.
Damon.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I said, you know who Shaquille Sunflower is?
Oh, yeah. Talking about where Martin went into that cult. Yeah.
The man who sleeps on the floor.
Shaquille Sunflower. Man, I tell
Shaquille Sunflower. It's just like, yo, what's happening?
Yeah,
Can I just interject real quickly? The Cherry.
yes.
Octavia down there is actually, he's a friend of mine. He's a Jew. His real name is Gabriel. He actually wants to come in and organize something with Pastor Damon. He's actually a very good guy. He's actually a very
Okay, I don't see him. I'm looking.
He needs to raise his hand again.
Yeah, he needs to raise his hand. I can't find him.
Simple.
Oh, okay. I found him. Okay, I found him. Okay, I see you now. Okay, welcome to the platform.
Thank you so much, Sister Cherry, and thank you so much, Pastor Damon. If I could just have a quick moment, I'm so impressed with Pastor Damon, and thank you so much, Sister, to bring him here. I'm working with the State Department Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism right now to organize her speaking on Clubhouse. Her name is Deborah Lipstadt. She's a professor of religion, and she was appointed not long ago. I believe, like my friend Eric K. Ward, that we cannot fight anti-Semitism and white supremacy without fighting anti-Black racism. And I do not believe we can fight anti-Black racism without fighting anti-Semitism. I think the enemy is the same enemy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who do this every day agree. Those same guys that were funding the NOI, right? Muammar Gaddafi, who spent millions of dollars, was funding slavery, Black slavery in his country in Libya, and he was funding the Nation of Islam. So wherever you look, if you see people enslaving Black people or threatening and harming Jewish people, they're also doing the other thing. I would love it if Mr. Damon was open to participating in a discussion. I think we're going to have her speak, and then I would love to have Pastor Damon speak or be part of the panel.
I would absolutely love to participate in this event because what you just said right there, I was actually explaining that in the Unspoken documentary. I mentioned how the transatlantic slave trade and how the trans-Saharan slave trade has gone on for 13 centuries till this day.
Till this day.
That Muslims have dragged Black bodies across Africa and till this day are still trading them on slave markets in Libya.
Yes,
and
sir.
they are Muslims. And I mentioned in that video, I said, it's very ironic that you will hear a person like, for instance, in the Nation of Islam say that they have to put off their slave name. And that's not to deny that, for instance, my name Richardson was not actually inherited by Richardson slave owners. But it is notable that if we're going to talk about slave names, then names like Muhammad would be more notorious for slave trading than the name Richardson would be, because they are still literally enslaving Black people. And we're talking about this has gone on from the 7th century all the way to the 21st century. We're talking about greater than 13 centuries of active slave trading in the name of Allah of Black people. And so it's insane that a black person in America or anywhere in the world would come to believe that that Islam represents freedom or liberty from from the white man's religion and stuff like that, and so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, you're exactly right. I would love to participate in that discussion panel, or I'd absolutely love to participate in that. It's really important that, because what you said is very true. And I've been saying this, I said this last Monday, that African Americans and Jews share a similar history, a very similar plight. And there was a time, so for instance, if you look in the 1960s, you'll see the relationship that, for instance, Dr. Martin Luther King, hold on one second. You'll see the relationship that, for instance, civil rights leaders had with Jewish leaders, and because again of the similar history, I'm trying to remember the name of the Rabbi Abraham. What's his name? Why can't I think of his name right now? Abraham Joshua Heschel. There it is. I was trying to remember his name. Him and Dr. King were very, very good friends. In fact, you would find Dr. Heschel literally marching with Dr. King. It's Lincoln and Mumia in the history of religion in America and the history of Christianity in America, noted that it was very common for Africans African Americans who were Christian to look at the Exodus motif as a symbol of hope, believing that the God of the Bible would deliver them in the very same way that he did the Jewish people. So there was an identity with the Jewish people, and that served as a motif of hope. What they theorized is that at some point, some of them began to move the identification with to an identification as the Jewish people. And you could kind of see how that trajectory might be possible. Somebody essentially conflating with to as. That is seeing the Jewish people and God's work of Exodus and deliverance, and then saying, hey, same God will do the very same thing for us, to saying that is us. So you could kind of see how that conflation might be possible. But at the end of the day, it's really important for us to retrieve and to recover this relationship that we have had with the Jewish people out of the same plight. We have stood arm in arm together, pushing back against, again, anti-Black racism and anti-Semitism. And what these cults represent is not just a rewinding of the clock, but it's a deception to actually divide us, because it's the very same propaganda that is used against them. That's what I said a little early on the program. The same propaganda that is used against them is used against us. You look at Wilmington, Delaware, where there was, and we're talking about shortly after Reconstruction, Black people were in, they essentially predominated city council seats, state legislature, and there was a Black mayor and even a governor. Blacks were business owners, so forth and so on. Whites started putting out newspaper ads characterizing Black people like evil-looking demonic birds and all kinds of pictures, apes and stuff, and then saying the only reason why they want to prosper is so that they can sleep with white women. So they were literally putting this in newspaper ads. Ultimately, it riled up white people to such a degree that on one day, they literally started mass. There was supposed to be an election. And in order to stop the election, whenever they saw a black person at the poll, they just started shooting them dead until they ran them all out of Wilmington, not Delaware, but Wilmington, North Carolina, ran them out of Wilmington, literally went to the state capitol in a coup d'etat at gunpoint and ran the not only the mayor, but the governor out of there, held their own election, and essentially ran black people out of their own homes, out of their own land, so forth and so on. Take that same thing, and then that was repeated in multiple places. Rosewood, Florida. It was repeated in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Greenwood. It was repeated in New York City. It was repeated in Detroit. It was repeated in Chicago. It was repeated in Philly. It was repeated in Virginia, in Maryland, in DC, all over this country. In fact, in the course of 1 week, they call it Red Week for the blood that was shed, where propaganda fueled whites, literally right here in Forsyth County, Georgia, which is essentially about 40 minutes from me. They did the same thing, ran all the 1,100 black people out of town on the basis of propaganda. And so this is why I'm telling black people, it does not serve us any good to then turn around and quote the same kind of propaganda that was used against Jewish people going all the way back to the Middle Ages to do the very same thing. And then we're going to participate in that with our history? That's a sin and a shame. And I'm calling every black person to get off that train and get back to some common sense and understand that we have a shared history with these people. They are not our enemies, and we have a very similar plight, and we're really fighting the same fight. The same people behind racism are the same people behind anti-Semitism. And that is the truth. That is the absolute truth.
Thank you so much, Pastor David.
Absolutely. Octavio, I am following you now. And I do have your information, and I'll give you mine, and we'll definitely Pastor Damon, when you if you do it, I definitely would love to sit in.
How could I get in contact with you? Well, email me if you could email me.
He just sent me. He sent me his email. I'm going to send it to you, Pastor Damon.
Excellent.
Send it to you tonight. I definitely would love to sit in on this lecture that you had agreed to participate in, Pastor, because I think these issues definitely need to be discussed. I want to say to those who are in Clubhouse and to those who are in YouTube, I'm glad that you are definitely tuning in. And that you're listening to Pastor Damon and all of the speakers attentively. This is a massive problem, and we can clearly see that this is the same mechanism that was used against A is the same mechanism that's being used against B. The same mechanism that was used against other nations, or Jewish people, is the same mechanism that was used against white people. Racism is clearly a disease. I call it a mental disease. And it causes the person to be not only physically sick because they do bad things, but also it causes them to be spiritually sick.
So let me ask if I could interject this. Let me ask if I could.
Yes, sir.
To African American listeners, how would you feel? How would you feel? Because I can tell you, I got a pretty good idea. When Kanye West said slavery was a choice, that definitely didn't sit well with most African Americans. They got ticked off right now. But what if somebody said, black or white, what if somebody said slavery really didn't happen? And this whole notion of millions of black people being sold as slaves and sent around the world, South America, Brazil, and Venezuela and all these different places, the Caribbean and the US and all this stuff, that stuff, maybe a couple hundred people got sold, but all the rest of that stuff was exaggerated and essentially is made up. And how would you feel? How would you feel if somebody said that?
All-out war, Pastor. It would be, people have a temper tantrum.
Yeah, because that is an insult to all of the Africans, the tens of thousands and the hundreds of thousands of Africans who didn't even make it to where they were going because they died in the Middle Passage, right? Because you do understand that they were stacking their bodies in planks on top of each other for weeks on end as they defecated on themselves.
Oh, geez.
And as they were hungry and bodies were dead and rotten and all. Imagine that. They had to throw some bodies overboard and all kinds of stuff. So for somebody to say that is to even insult, to desecrate the memory and the legacy of even those people. And then all of the people who endured just inhumane treatment, killed and raped and all kinds of stuff. It would be, like you said, folk would blow their absolute tops. Well, listen. Well, let me help you understand that. This so-called documentary, Hebrews to Negroes, follows a anti-Semitic myth that the Holocaust really didn't happen.
Oh my God.
That 6 million Jews really weren't killed like that, and that this was really invented by the Jews in agreement with the US in order to gain control over governments. This is the idea that documentary pushes that idea that the Holocaust really didn't happen. Now, imagine you are. I was actually, one of my professors was actually an Ashkenazi Jew whose parents survived the Holocaust in Poland. Right? They survived the Holocaust. This man wouldn't have even been alive if they didn't survive. Right? So imagine somebody saying that their ancestors, and we're not even talking about, listen, we're not talking about 100 years ago. We're not talking about 200 years ago. We're talking about essentially 78 years ago. That's what we're talking about. 75 to 78 years ago. Like Holocaust survivors are still alive. They're still alive. And imagine being told, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you.
I gotta take a walk. I gotta cool off because this is really pissing me off. I gotta take a walk.
Yeah. Let me explain to you how offensive it is to them. And this is exactly why they feel the way that they feel about what I keep hearing people say, well, what did Kyrie say? As though you have to say something in order to essentially do something anti-Semitic. You don't have to say anything. The very fact that he shared the link and said that he agreed with even some of it without qualification is anti-Semitic. Now, let me explain to you about the Holocaust, what happened. So let me explain how 6 million people died. So because you know how your ancestors got killed. You know what they did to us. So let me explain to you what they did to them. They would take, in some of those camps, they would take and line thousands of them up, men, women, and children, line them up with a ditch, with ditches dug miles long, line them up in front of the ditches and just fire on them and let their bodies fall right in the ditches. thousands of them. And that's only one way that they killed thousands of them. And at the Nuremberg proceedings, that's what they presented from the writings of the Germans themselves, who meticulously documented where, when, and how they killed Jews. They had hundreds of thousands of pieces of evidence from the Germans themselves on this. And yet, you got some black people running around believing a conspiracy.
They responded to you. I think that was Kevin G. Go ahead, Kevin G.
No, I was going to add that the Nuremberg trial was the indictment of 24 Nazi government officials. And they filed this in October 18th of 1945, right? So the chief prosecutors of the International Military Tribunal, which was Robert H. Jackson, United States, Sir Hadley Shawcross of Great Britain.
That's correct.
Of France, and Roman H. Renico of the Soviet Union. And what people don't realize is that the Soviet Union themselves actually had very hard issues with the influx of refugees from Germany and Poland because of what the Germans were doing. This wasn't an atrocity that's just recognized by the West. Russians were heavily involved. And this is why you have a lot of Russian Jews and a lot of Polish Jews and whatnot, because they actually ran into those countries during those times. Like one of the hardest films that actually made me research this is when I saw in the 90s by Steven Spielberg called Schindler's List.
Yeah.
And when I saw that movie, on the same level as the black atrocities that happened during the time of slavery,
absolutely,
that movie made me sick.
Absolutely.
They were doing crazy. It's all factual. They had a lot of propaganda that they wrote about Jewish people. They had a lot of things that they told their own people. I mean, like they not only killed them in piles and burning them, they actually were also killing them in gas chambers, starving them to the point you couldn't even recognize them.
That's exactly right. And even gas cars, So a gas car. Imagine you are at a railroad track, and a train comes with all these cars. Those are railroad cars. And you're sitting at the cross arm for like 20 minutes because this train is super long, and it's going by slow, and it's about 100 or so cars. Well, each one of these cars can hold a whole lot of things in them. They were putting Jews in train cars and filling them with gas. Do you know how many people that you can fit in each one of those cars? So when we talk about atrocity, you can't even begin to understand. When some of the Allied forces finally did push forward into Germany, the reports show that some of the American soldiers died by being overcome from the stench of dead bodies. So anybody pushing a narrative or even endorsing a narrative that Yad Vashem or Shoah never occurred is insane. It's insane. The evidence. And so you have to buy into this conspiracy theory. And the conspiracy theory is rooted in a hatred for Jewish people. And just like I said, how would you feel if somebody did that to your history? So the same people who are yapping off on social media talking about what happened? You know what? I tell you what needs to happen. Education. Education needs to happen. And there's a fundamental breakdown in education, dumbing down in our society to where truth just doesn't even matter anymore. And people feel like their opinions can be treated as fact, and fiction can be treated as fact, and conspiracy theory can be treated as fact, so forth and so on. Whenever we allow that kind of stuff to plague our community, it's gonna destroy us. And like I said, you can't blame Jewish people for their success. Look up, and this is I'm not going to get into, well, they were special people of God, this, that, the other, this is why, in the favor of God. No. I got a better theory than that. Look at how many Nobel Peace Prize winners. Look at how many scientists. Look at all of your breakthrough technologies. Look at their contribution. Look at the number of degree holders from Israel against the world. And what I am saying, I'm not even just talking about Israel. I'm just talking about even around the world. You got a very, very small population of people. That level of success doesn't occur because of some conspiracy theory. It's values. It's values. And I talked about that in my talk a couple of Mondays ago. And I was talking about how when I was in New York, when I was living in New York at the time, Yeshiva University canceled a basketball game. They canceled a basketball game and forfeited the game. And it was a write-up in the paper. I remember it was in the Daily News, New York Daily News. There was a write-up in the paper about it, and they were interviewing the coach, and the coach was like, hey, yeah, the players needed to study and prepare for an exam. And he was like, you're going to cancel the game for that? I mean, just literally take an L? And he was like, yeah. So he said, it's not like they're here at this school to become basketball players. I mean, they're playing basketball while they're here, but they're here to be, to become doctors, lawyers, scientists, so forth and so on. So when you look at the anti-Semitic tropes from the Middle Ages all the way even up into Nazi Germany, there was always some jealousy surrounding Jewish business, industry, their industriousness, and this, that, and the other, as though there's some conspiracy to it. No, that's just values. If they're sending their kids to school for things like that, well, that's where you're going to see a lot of them in those fields, the very fields that they send their children to school for. That's not a conspiracy. That's value-based. That's value-based. And again, when you look at it, it's the same thing.
Pastor Octavio wanted to respond to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, I love it, and I don't want to interrupt Pastor David. No, I just wanted to say that, this is a time where a lot of our elders, and when I say ours, I mean America's, I mean Black and Jewish elders. A lot of our elders are starting to pass. There's a guy named Rabbi Israel Dresner. He was a freedom writer. He was a civil rights activist with Reverend King, just like Abraham Joshua Heschel. And he died this year. He was 92. He was known as the most arrested rabbi in America. Professor Clarence B. Jones, who was Martin Luther King's speechwriter and personal attorney, was just recently here on Clubhouse, and he spoke, and he sounded a lot like Pastor Damon, right? That we have this shared history, and we have to try to have everyone, Black people, Jewish people, people who are neither, just really understand that we have to work together. We've achieved so much together, and I just want to say, I was almost tearing up listening to you. I know that others in the audience are too, because what you're saying is the truth, and we need to spread the word of this. We just, I just want to thank you again.
May I follow up on something on that?
Yes.
So, along with that is what people don't realize is that this situation with Israelites, Jews, and all the claims being made, the conspiracy theories being made up, is getting worse and worse every year. I remember back when I moved to Kansas in 2016. Late 2016, I moved to Kansas, and I moved in an area that's called Overland Park, Kansas. And for some reason, all my life, I lived very close to Jewish communities. I live in one now. I won't disclose my location where I'm at right now. I live in one now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I found when I moved to Overland Park was there was certain things the police were doing, and I asked some of my coworkers, like, "Hey, why do the police only allow certain people? Why they close this road at certain times, this, that, and the other?" And they were like, "Oh, well, the Jewish community over there owns that road over there." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" They said, "Well, there was an attack by someone in Missouri who came over and shot up the entire facility."
Oh,
right? And when I heard about that, I was like, "For real?" They were like, "Yeah, there was a couple of attacks." And I was like, "Why?" The thing that I didn't get is that, even with the black dynamic that we have in this country, you don't have how could I describe this? I'm not going to say violence or anything. It's this thing where, I don't know, like, people just hate. I noticed that a lot of people hate Jews. I'm gonna just put it like that. That's just something I noticed. Like, people hate Jews. People hate Jews like crazy. And the thing that I often tell my black counterparts is, like, listen, like, if you see a people that's hated like this, you should have some sympathy, right? I mean, because if you feel we're hated and we are hated and they're hated, then you should have some sympathy. But why are you participating in this as though they took something from you? And so I'm looking in the news right now. Did y'all know? I'm not sure if y'all talked about this, but there was a New Jersey man that was arrested about 9 hours ago. And he called in on the synagogue, was threatening to bomb the synagogue after comments from Kyrie Irving. Now, why, like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, what they're doing, they're exciting a lot of violence on levels that's like, I want y'all to really wake up.
And that's the point, is that propaganda always leads to that kind of violence.
Right.
Yeah.
Sad,
yeah. I mean, even to go back in history, here again, I think, see, history is one of the greatest weapons we have, because when we understand what has really happened, we can repeat. I mean, we can prevent repeating those same things from happening again. So a lot of people are just not aware of the civil rights struggle and literally the sacrifices that people made in the I'm talking about blacks, whites, and Jews, right? So for instance, anybody ever remember the movie? It was back in the 80s called Mississippi Burning.
Yes.
Anybody remember that movie? Well, that movie was actually based on the summer of 1964 in Philadelphia, Mississippi. So CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, had sent 3 activists, Andrew Goodman, a white man, James Chaney, a black man, and a Jewish man by the name of Michael Schwerner from New York. You want to know who recruited Michael Schwerner? Take one guess. One guess. John Lewis. John Lewis was the one who just died a year or so ago. John Lewis was the one who recruited Michael Schwerner, and his wife Rita literally ran a CORE office, that is, again, Congress of Racial Equality, in Manhattan, and literally were sent down in Mississippi in order to organize education and activist events in that area. And what happened? Of course, you remember they were actually killed by the Ku Klux Klan, and you can remember seeing the signs missing, FBI, if you've seen these people, this, that, and the other. And they had killed them and dumped them in some lake. They found them in their cars, pulled the car literally right out of the bottom of the lake, out of the lake. It's important for people to remember that we had Jewish people standing with us in the struggle. So because of this shared history, and I'm bringing all these things up to jar our memory, to say we can't allow conspiracy theory and anti-Semitic tropes to make us forget about this, and to get us into this malaise of thinking that somehow they're the enemy. Because it again, it's the fight against them is essentially going to be the same fight against us. And so we just, it's really important for us to retrieve this history so that we can keep it in front of us and keep the facts as facts, and keep our focus on what our plight is. Our plight is about justice, and not allow any kind of envy. Because I've already said it, and again, I'm not saying that they're a better group of people than anybody else, but I do know this is that whenever a group of people operate from a value of collectivism, it usually turns out better for that group of people. One of the things that we've lost along the way, which is why when you look at Black life following Reconstruction, all the way up through the era of Jim Crow, when they really started systematically taking things from us and redlining districts in order to be able to keep us from political power and all kinds of stuff. When you look at how our families function, when you look at the businesses, all of this, when you look at that, we were a super productive people. And one of the reasons is that we were operating from a core value of collectivism. What Western values have taught us is individualism. And so we'll put our own consumer wants and needs above whatever's good for the rest of the group. Like Kanye can say whatever he wants, and a Black person will say, and no matter how negative it is towards Black people, they'll say, well, you know what? I still like the Yeezys though, so I'm still going to buy them. Right? So imagine the kind of stuff that you're hearing. Let me help you understand how ridiculous it is in thinking. So you got people right now, like right now as we speak, that are on social media saying, well, why don't the ADL hold Jeff Bezos and Amazon accountable the same way they do in Kyrie? Well, first of all, they are, and they have been literally making an appeal for them to take the video off. Whether Jeff Bezos is responding or not, this, that, or the other. But you can't complain about what they are doing or what they should be doing when, if you really want Amazon to be held accountable, stop buying the video. So who in the world do you think made the video a #1 seller? Well, the people who are influenced by Kyrie. So you can't turn around and say, well, why are they just getting on Kyrie and not on Bezos? Well, Bezos is making money off of the very same people who are essentially supporting him by purchasing and renting the video. So you can't turn around and say what the ADL should be doing, when in reality, we're the ones who should be holding Amazon accountable, because Amazon is a publicly traded company. They don't answer to the ADL. They answer to stakeholders. And guess who stakeholders are? Consumers. So if you want them to be held accountable, cancel your Prime account or stop purchasing the video. But corporations exist to make money, period. So they're going to go with what they think, whatever. You see what I'm saying is that we say all these kinds of things, but at the end of the day, we put our consumer desires above the rest of the group. And then still be on there talking like, well, I see what they do they're not doing anything to Kyrie. Kyrie works for the NBA. He has a contract with the NBA. The NBA is a brand. This is how things work, folks. People don't want their brand tarnished by people who are holding to radical and extremist ideas. It's not good for the brand, because the brand also makes its money from sponsors who have a brand as well. And so the sponsors say, well, we'll pull out sponsorship if you don't really deal with this. Adidas is a German company started by two men who actually had ties to the Nazi party. They can't escape their past, right? They can't escape their past. So they've tried to separate themselves from it by acknowledging it and repenting of it and doing everything they can to function differently as a company today, knowing that past is something that they can't change. So you better believe they're going to be quick to cut their ties with Kanye, because what does that do? That drags them back into the past that they've come from. They don't want to be associated with Nazism. They don't want to be associated with anti-Semitism. It's not good for their brand. It's just not good at all, period. So no, this is not a conspiracy, folks. This is just the way things work. When Nike decided, yeah, we're going to pretty much cut ties with Kyrie, let me explain something. Let's not act like he doesn't know what he's doing. The reason they set up that press conference is because what they understood is the math of this whole thing. People were going to buy this video simply because he put it out there. He's got millions of followers on social media. By him putting the link out, he essentially was marketing. That's what you call marketing the video. Let me explain how that works. I write some stupid book. Nobody's buying it. Oprah gets on and says, our featured book for the week is Cats, Rats, and Dogs by Damon Richardson. Well, guess what happens? Instantly, my book is a #1 New York Times bestseller because Oprah marketed it. She might have not even read it, but she marketed it. She endorsed it. Now everybody's going to go get it. So they set up the interview to give Kyrie, the opportunity to say, I don't support anti-Semitism. And if there was anti-Semitism in this video, I don't agree with that. To literally qualify what he agrees with, what he doesn't agree with, and essentially just separate himself from that, because his influence with all of the millions of followers could potentially come to influence them in believing that this particular documentary has merit. So they wanted him to do the responsible thing, since it was his influence that led people to actually, you don't have to say a lot. All you got to do is market. And we have to understand that platforms come with responsibilities and influence comes with responsibilities. And so when they asked him, hey, do you disavow anti-Semitism? Well, how could I be an anti-Semite? Essentially, that's not, all that is him essentially doing what the fake Black Israelites do. And that is to say, I can't be an anti-Semite because I am a Semite. I am a true Israelite, and they are not. That's really what that statement means. That's really what that statement means. He had an opportunity to do it, but no, he didn't want to do it. And people they swear that this guy is a martyr for a cause. Listen, there's nothing noble in standing your ground for false ideas. Well, at least he stood up for what he believed. I don't know what happened to people in our day and time where they think that there's nobility in dying for dumb causes. No, there's nobility in standing for the truth. There's nobility in standing for righteousness. There's no nobility in putting your head on a chopping block by swearing that the earth is flat. There's nothing noble about that. You just died as a dummy. That's all. Right? This man is not a martyr. He's not a martyr at all. Right? And so We just have to start separating the fact from the fiction, get the emotive out of it, and look at what's really happening. And all of this, you see what's going on? Do y'all see it? And all of this kind of talk is just conspiracy talk. It's not woke talk, it's conspiracy talk. And let's not tarnish the name of woke, because woke is really associated with bringing people into a consciousness of the history and what has actually happened to us as a people. Let's not tarnish it with the conspiracy theory and the pseudoscience and the pseudo spirituality and all of the other stuff that it's becoming associated with. I'm done, y'all. I'll take any questions, but I'm done. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Pastor Damon, I actually had a question someone shared with me in the back channel. So the question is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is the question. So the question says, can you ask, I guess she said him, meaning you. So can you ask Pastor Damon about the violence in Jersey City, the murders, and also about the stabbing at the rabbi in New York, and the different attacks from the I guess she means Hebrew Israelites.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. I don't know if you're on Clubhouse and I'm listening to you through Clubhouse or whether you're on. Would you repeat that again? It was just some little breakup in the line there. I could hear some of what you said. If you would just kindly repeat that, I'm sorry.
I might have to say it a bit louder. My headsets are about to lose use. So she said, there's an individual who asked me to ask you a question, and she asked about the violence in Jersey City, the murders, and also about the stabbing at the rabbi in New York, and different attacks from the Hebrew Israelites.
Gotcha. Now, I mean, what specifically is her question about that, about those things?
She didn't give clarity. I don't know. Let me see if she's here. Can't see a PTR. I guess she must have left. But I guess maybe your impressions or your feelings, or if you're aware of them.
I mean, yeah, she's talking about the I think the 5 people that were killed. This might have been a few years ago. Was it 2020, 2019? Was 5 people killed at a Jewish deli, and some sort of it was a shooting, and then you had the thing in Pittsburgh and all that other stuff. Yeah, I mean, we condemn that. I feel the same way about that as I did when the Dylan Roof Storm, or whatever his name is, that white supremacist walked into the Bethel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and murdered those worshipers, the pastor, and I think 6 or 7 other parishioners. Feel the same exact way. It comes from the same kind of place. Hatred for Black and Jewish people. It comes from the same exact place. I feel the same exact way.
Wow. Well, I must say, this has been a very interesting conversation. I'm gonna have to put a bookmark to it because I gotta work in the morning. But this has been an interesting, very interesting, deep conversation. Now, what I can do is I can keep Clubhouse going. I definitely can, but I will have to end the YouTube. And Pastor Damon, if you want to come into Clubhouse, I'll definitely ping you into Clubhouse because we got moderators in here. This was a very tough and rough conversation, I have to say. And Pastor Damon, the information that you have shared with us tonight is pure golden. I will have to say that unfortunately, we have people who are following pure ignorance and lack of research, and unfortunately, a lack of compassion. Listen, family, racism is serious, and anti-Semitism, all of that stuff, whatever you want to name it, it's wrong. It's wrong. And again, I do not co-sign that stuff. That's it's hurtful. And like they say, hurt people, and that's true. It's a clear-cut problem. She said, what is Clubhouse? Oh, that's a long story, Sister Elizabeth. It's an app, sis. It's an app. Pastor Damon, I can ping you into the Clubhouse side if you want to. Because
go ahead and put a bookmark in it myself. And
okay.
But I want to thank you for having me on as a guest. And y'all know, so the ones who know me, y'all know this is how I come across at times. I know how to behave in various spaces and various places, but when I'm on these apps, I just kind of give it up a little bit more raw because I understand the context that I'm dealing with. And one thing about Black people, we know really well is code switching. We know how to say things, when to say it, where to say it, and so forth and so on. But I come across this passionately because it's just the way that I am. It's just a part of who I am. It's a part of how I communicate, whether it's preaching or teaching, so forth and so on. But I really want people to hear not just my heart, but my head on these issues, because it's not good for us. It's not right. It's not healthy for us to embrace these ideas. We've got to get back to a better place, and we have to start listening to the right teachers. And I'm just I'm just really saddened by the fact that anybody with a platform can be considered some sort of voice or authority, no matter how uneducated, uninformed, or whatever they are. And this is the price we're paying for it. And we have to start listening to the right people. Hence my tagline, who taught you? That's really, really important. And so with that said, thank you all for enduring my my rants and runs and diatribes.
Well, this ain't gonna be your last time up here, because I'm gonna get you back up here again.
Yes, indeed. Well, you know what? I will be honored to come. If any of you are in Miami this Sunday, I'll be in Miami preaching. If next Friday, if you are anywhere in the Philadelphia area, I will be preaching next Friday in Philly, and then after that, I'm gonna take me a little vacation and probably get back to it in December. But if you're in Miami this weekend, connect with me via Facebook. I'll be putting up on Facebook where I'll be, and would love to meet you. If you're in that area, come out and hear me speak Sunday. And then Friday, next Friday, I'll be preaching at a church in Philadelphia. So
brother,
hope to see you.
Wanted to say something to you, Pastor Damon. Go ahead, OT.
Yeah. So just a reminder, Pastor Damon, I follow you on IG and on Facebook. So I'm going to share the link. The link is on top, Sister Cherry.
Okay.
where Ron Dalton, because he's actually Moshe Levi. So he seems like he has a small fold. I think it's a significant thing with him, even though he is a pseudo historian. However, people listen to him and they take him seriously and they take his scholarship seriously. And like you, Sister Cherry, Pastor Damon, Kevin G, Yeshua, Storm, you guys who are like very notable apologists, definitely get into it. So that, because the thing is, I'm sure that all the stuff he stated, all the pseudo-historical stuff he stated, including the African history, is worth poking at. So definitely Kevin G, Sister Cherry, Yeshua, Storm, Pastor Damon. And if you can do your magic, Sister Cherry, because before they delete it, if you can take that and do what you do when you download it, you know, I'm not sure how to download it. But
It's already downloaded.
Damon, but they might end. Oh, you good. But I'll still share it with Pastor Damon on his IG and Facebook. I'll try to follow you on IG and Facebook, Sister Cherry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would love if somebody can somehow facilitate setting up a debate between Ron Dalton and me. If somebody could get in contact with him or maybe his team, and even put that bug in their ear, make that suggestion. I'd love to see if he's willing to debate the claims that he makes in that video. And but if somebody could do that, if somebody can get in contact with him, or they know somebody that can get in contact with him, I'd love to see if he's open to debating.
Absolutely. We got 59 people here in Clubhouse, as well as we had 30-something people in YouTube. So altogether, almost 100-something people collectively. So I'm sure, somebody probably, may have had conversation with him or probably know him. So Pastor Damon has put it out there for a debate challenge, and hopefully he's willing to step to that challenge. I would like to see that discussion. Or debate discussion, however you want to call it. I definitely will be interested in hearing, what he will have to say. I'll be nice because I ain't gonna say what I was gonna say because Pastor. Close your ears, Reverend. Listen. But I will say, to the YouTube Clubhouse family, I thoroughly enjoyed you all. And to those who are in the audience on both sides of the ticket, I pray that you have found this conversation very informational. This is what we seek to do, to inform you, as well as, to edify, spread the gospel of Jesus Christ of first importance, of course, but also to bring awareness. Racism is a sickness. It's a sickness of the mind. It's a sickness of the life, period. And it will not be tolerated. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you have that type of mindset, you need to fall on your knees and beg God's pardon and get your act together and ask God to clean your heart, because racism is clearly a sickness, a heart issue, a mind issue, a soul issue. And that's not what God prescribed for us. So listen, I pray that you all have a whole lot. You got a whole lot tonight to think about what was said here tonight, and set aside and get rid of your ignorance. All right, get rid of your ignorance and actually step into reality of the truth. Pastor Damon, again, I do greatly appreciate your presence, being up here and sharing with both communities, Clubhouse as well as YouTube. I thank you so much. And again, to the audience, I thank you so much. And I hope and pray that you'll continue to come back and fellowship with us. We got more information. This ain't going to be Pastor Damon's last time up here. Trust me, I'm going to make sure of that. Praise God. I'm plotting on you, Pastor.
Honored to come back and thank you again. I appreciate you, appreciate your listening audience, and definitely look forward to getting back on, sharing the platform, the stage with you, and bringing information, understanding, illumination, edification, and all that good stuff to people who want to learn. So grateful again. Thanks for having me. Love you, and I'll look forward to that invite the next time.
Amen. God bless you and have a good night, Pastor.
All right, you do the same.
Amen. Listen, family, before I let you go here, again here, tonight was a very, 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 very heavy conversation. A lot of subjects here was touched on, and issues of the heart. And again, I do pray and hope that this will definitely give you something to think about, especially those who are carrying that seed of hatred. I pray that you allow God to give you a clean heart and renew the right spirit within you, because hatred is a sin. And again, here's the thing, to hate one another is a sin. Now, you can hate the sin, but don't hate the person. And again, as crazy as the Hebrew Israelites are, Lord have mercy, I don't hate them. I don't hate them. I hate what they do, but I don't hate them. And I will never, ever, ever advocate or teach for people to hate one another. But I will teach you to love, but I will teach you also to hate the sin as well. Yeah, I'm not going to tolerate that. But again, here, family, I really pray that you would begin to do your research. Tonight, I named both of these platforms after 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. The Bible says, prove all things, holding fast to which is good. And the word of God is definitely good. And again, you can't throw claims out there and not expect for people to expect you or to demand for you to back those claims up. You can't go around here lying on one another. That's a sin. You can't go around here hating one another. That's a sin too. So listen, it's a lot that needs to be fixed. And I understand that one conversation can't do it just in one night. But if we continue to come together and we continue to speak with each other and fellowship with one another, I'm praying to God that some change will happen. Listen, if one soul, even if it's one soul that comes back to Christ, listen, heaven rejoices over that soul. How much important are you to God? That tells you how important you are to him. So, family, I love you. And if ain't nobody told you today, and YouTube and on Clubhouse, let me be the first one to tell you, from the platform all the way to those who are in the other rooms who are not my followers, I want to tell you, I love you. And God loves you. And I'm asking you to love on one another, pray for one another. Stop this foolishness. I'm begging you publicly. Stop this foolishness. We are all God's children. And that's the first thing that you need to receive and understand. And once you understand that, God will definitely deal with you on the rest of the stuff. The issues of your heart. God hears those issues. He knows those issues. He's not deaf, dumb, blind, or stupid. But don't continue to ignore God. Because I believe he's calling out to all of us. Maybe not in the same way, maybe in different ways. But I know that God is calling out to each and every one of you. So I'll pray again that this conversation was able to touch somebody's heart. And again, listen, this room, even in Clubhouse, because there is over 49 people. It was almost 60, almost close to 60 some odd people. This room is ending on a good note tonight, on a peaceful note. I'm not going to allow y'all to argue. No, because I want you to walk away with this on your mind. And I want y'all to walk away thinking about this. And I'm praying to God that a change will take place if a change is definitely needed, because everybody can change something. To know better is to do better. That's all I can really say here tonight. So I love you. And God bless you. And again, we're going to do this again. Clubhouse, I want to say on behalf of the YouTube audience, welcome, 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 welcome. And to the YouTube family, on behalf of the Clubhouse family, welcome, welcome, welcome. And may this fellowship, God, continue to be in between both fellowships, and that you love one another, pray for one another, bear each other's burdens. And on that, I'm Sister Cherry Love, and I want to say God bless y'all, and y'all have a good night. And both of these rooms are going to end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Y'all have a good night. God bless you. All right, YouTube. All right, so Clubhouse is gone. I love y'all. May the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ be with you all. Until we meet again, I'm Sister Cherry Love. Y'all have a very good night. Peace.